Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner and I'm here with James Farley,
Hello.
Sean Bell,
Hello.
and Matt Murray.
Hello.
We're going to start the show by thanking our Patreon producers this month. They support the show by going to full Nels. They are the QuickBooks chap, Simon Nelson, Moomin Biscuit, Trans Rights are Human Rights, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gazman, Rocketman76, Grey Dragon Claw, Smooth Monkey, Don Whiskerando, Colin Smith, Richard Sawyer, John Tempelli, Jackie Sniper, Gordon Garrow, Safe As Records, Sam Higton, Freelance Police, Jonathan Edwards, and happy birthday, James S. from Tom S. They supported the show by going to patreon.com/TCGS and signed up. They went full Nels. They are the crew. If you enjoy this podcast and you enjoy what we do, then maybe you should be thanking them individually because they're keeping us going. You can also chip in, though, by going to patreon.com/TCGS to listen to the bonus show or our, honestly, we have been plugging a video bonus show for a couple of months and we've not been able to pull it together and we apologise for that. However, I think we totally made up for it this week by doing our Mario Party stream. If you have access at that tier, please watch that video. It's on YouTube. Well, it'll be on your Patreon page now. Go and catch up with one of the most intense games of Mario Party you've ever seen. If you want to see Sean completely defy any logic that was handed to him on the plate, you can see that. If you want to see a standoff between someone stealing a star from someone else right at the end of the game, you will get to see that. Super Mario Party is brilliant, isn't it? You've only just bought it, Matt, for the stream, right?
Yeah, that's my first ever game of Mario Party.
Did you enjoy it?
I have thoughts.
You sold. Okay.
No, I enjoyed it. Actually, Elodie and I were meant to play again today. I meant to play today, but we didn't have time. But no, I would love to do more of them, and I'm excited to play it actually in my own time.
Yeah, maybe we need to do more of them. But that was absolutely fantastic the other night. Yep. I really enjoyed it. And the co-op stuff, you can't go wrong with that, Matt. Stick it on easy, play with Elodie, you'll have a whale of a time. Although she'll probably get frustrated with your performances in the 2v2 mini games because there was.
I don't think we should. I think we'll be on the same side. It'll be fine. I think we'll be
okay.
No,
identifying fruit.
Okay,
that was the problem.
no, actually, on the other one, I did alright. Actually, there's someone else on my team who mucked up.
Oh dear. See, if this is the sort of bit of the show you like, definitely watch the stream because it's just 2 hours of this. It's fantastic. I loved it.
Feedback from last week's show. First time we've all been back together in a long time. I assume everyone loved it, did they, Matt?
I think it did actually. Tom S, a Four Nails member, has messaged us. Hello, chaps. I just wanted to add my voice to the thanks from people you've had over the last couple of months for pointing us in the direction of the Double Fine documentaries. I bring this up only now for a few mostly selfish reasons. One, I've only just got to the end of the Broken Age series and absolutely loved it. 2, Game Informer posted their reunion episode just a couple of weeks ago that I think you should check out if you haven't already seen it, if anything, to marvel at Greg's hair. And 3, I only watched episodes while running on a treadmill and so far lost over 5 kilograms.
Oh, wow.
Imagine what I can do with another 32 episodes as a Psychonauts one. Wasn't there a TCGS fitness thing once? Maybe James and Sean were both doing Ring Fit or something? I say bring that back. I'd buy a TCGS Fitness Club t-shirt for sure. Anyway, thanks again. The first doc has a really big impact on me in both mind and body. From Tom S.
Amazing.
Yeah, I didn't need to lose some weight. Maybe we do need to get a fitness club going.
I mean, like that to force me into actually just doing it.
That would be amazing. I mean, the thing Tom S is thinking of is we've repeatedly talked about. It's like every new year we keep saying, don't we? We need to do like a friendly like Ring Fit, like not even a competition, but just something where we're both logging what we're doing. Yeah. And there's a record,
competing.
and maybe like bring it up on the
competition.
Show, right?
Yeah.
No, not competition. Just holding each other to account. Anyway, and it never happens. So yeah,
I would warn you there, James. Me and Sean were going to do this with Trackmania. We were going to try and beat each other's times on custom tracks that we made for each other. It lasted 2 rounds, and Sean got bored and played something else. I was really quiet. I
don't remember. That does sound like me.
It did sound like me. I mean, I think we called it. Didn't we call it Twatmania?
Yeah, I think you did.
Again, sounds right. Yeah. I mean, I'd love, TCGS Fitness Club T-shirt would be amazing. Only available in large and upwards.
Vest, surely.
Vest.
It's got to be a
would
vest,
good.
a luminous vest.
I might have to design that.
yes,
I did
please.
start. I started sketching out a new TCGS T-shirt.
I
Initially-
need to talk to you. Oh shit!
We
Yeah, I
do
need,
need
I need
to
a
talk
photo
to
from you,
about
Dave, because
that.
I did. I mean, I won't
Yeah,
spoil
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Initially, it was very James Farley focused, and in hindsight, a bit mean-spirited. But I've
Well,
adapted
that's
it.
kind of what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, something's in the works. I mean, it's not like, I mean, if anyone who saw my Tommy Tallarico one, it's similar sort of vibe. Not really what you call professional, but that's the point.
James, you've just started watching the Double Fine documentary. Are you enjoying it?
I am. I'm only up to episode 3 at the moment, but I am enjoying it. Yeah.
We had this. So the is he the what's his executive producer Zach?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is it, what
yeah,
was
exactly.
his? Is that his title?
I can't remember, but yeah, he's produced.
Sean
on
and I had a
Cyclops TV
moment
for me.
where Sean had a very not a strong opinion of him, but had an opinion of him, and I just went, yeah, but Sean, you do realise that this is me, like,
Yeah, because I was bringing up,
looked-
wasn't I, like examples of when, like, I understand what he's trying to do, but the way like people perceive him is perhaps a bit rude or abrupt at times, and
Yeah.
you were just like, no, that's me.
Yeah, that's me at work. When I'm at work, I've got no time for anyone going, but I would like to have my opinion. I don't need your opinion now. We're beyond opinions. Go away and let's just finish this bit off, and then we can carry on.
So
And
are
then
you the sort of person that people will say he doesn't suffer fools gladly?
No, I don't. I think people just really just call me a twat or whatever. But like, I do kind of sympathise with him. If I mean, we could talk about this a little bit more openly now because it's been out for so long. I think if you were going to watch it, I know we're not going to spoil things, James, obviously. But
I mean, if you haven't watched any of it, we're going to talk about stuff that's like 20 hours in the runtime, so you're going to forget about it by the time you get there.
Yeah, but there is moments where you look at it and like, this will sound terrible, but there's an artist that goes, I really want to put my vision across in this game. And I want to go, yeah, but so does the other hundreds of people that work on this game. And we're way beyond that now. Like, stop coming up. Well, actually, what if we did this? Go away. It's like the discussion
Well,
that
yes
we
and
had.
no, because they get into that a bit, don't they? They say like that's
Right.
what makes Double Fine unique, and why a lot of people choose to work there is because they don't want to just churn stuff out. Like the whole point is that everyone does get a bit of that input, and that's why the games sort of end up being or feeling quite personal in the way they do.
Totally. But I think, and this was intentional.
Yeah.
This was intentional. That was done an episode after the one where they were saying, we literally have no time. We need to focus. Otherwise, things are going to get cut.
Well, this is it, yeah,
you
'cause,
will
like,
lose things you love
Yeah.
because we have not got time to dick about anymore.
Yeah.
We're under pressure here. And then the next episodes, they're like, why is he not listening to my ideas? You know, and I'm just going, well, it's funny because the other thing that we spoke about, and sorry if you've not got any interest in this documentary, I do apologise, but
I don't apologise for that because they should have. Like I think
yeah,
it's,
no, it is
bloody
good.
great.
It's
if
a
you play
fascinating watch.
if you play video games, it's like essential viewing. Like,
But it was like your view, and a totally valid view, when it was at the end of a meeting and someone said, "Oh, is this a good moment to put my hand up and ask about this?" Because they had someone who was a little bit more inexperienced than anyone else, and they explained that, and everyone knows that he's inexperienced and he's in a good position. And he said at the end of the meeting, "Is this a good time to talk about this?" And Zach just goes, "No, it's not." Okay, are we done here? And then off he goes. And Sean was like, you know, rightfully, you know, that seemed like really abrupt and out of order, and you know, it doesn't give him confidence to speak up next time. And I said, right, I get that, but we saw 30 seconds of that meeting, which I assume was penned in to be an hour-long meeting, and it went on for like 3 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
feeling I got from that.
Couldn't he have just saved it for any other business? You know, then
Little office.
good old
Office
AOV.
professor. But yeah, it's incredible. It's an incredible look, and I think even though I think, you know, I'm 22 episodes in now, and even though I think it's given a really open and honest view of a studio up against it, you can still see that there's a lot that's not captured by the cameras. You know, it's fascinating. There's
it's like,
stuff where they
'cause
talk
when-
about it, and
when
you
Chris-
just never,
Yeah, like when Chris Spratt was on the show and he was saying like it's interesting because it's like you say, feels so open and honest, and yet
Right.
people are also like, this is made by employees of Double Fine.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Yeah.
you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, it's still fascinating that they don't go like one or two steps further. Where honestly, and we were talking about it just before we started recording, Tim Schafer comes across as a fucking liability at that business. Like if he's sitting there, look, he's obviously I like Tim obviously, and the way he presents himself and the way he is, it just seems really cool. But but it just had visions of when everyone's in the trenches and he's walking around like make cracking jokes. And you're like, not now, Tim. I know you're the boss, but come on, it's brilliant. If you've not seen it, then
I need to-
can't
Yeah, I need to get
recommend
back
it
on that.
enough, really.
I think I'll go up to episode 12 or so. I was really loving it, and then other things happened. But
Well, I don't know if you've done the same thing, Dave. Because I got to 20 odd, and then I'm at the point where it's like, right, the next episode is the Amnesia Fortnite film that we put out like a year ago, and I'm like, right, well which is ridiculous because so many of the other episodes are, up like an hour plus in some cases, and I just watch them in bits. But for some reason, because they're like, oh, this is the Amnesia Fortnite movie, I'm like, right, I need to set aside an evening to watch that in one go.
Right, I don't know
Which
any of that.
I don't at all. Right, that's
Right.
ridiculous. But I've for some reason that's become like a real stumbling block for me.
That was the other. So they do this thing called Amnesia Fortnite, right? Where you have to forget the game you're working on. So they down tools and say for 2 weeks no one's working on Psychonauts 2. No one's working on anything that you've worked on before. We're doing 2 weeks. We put you into teams, and it's a game jam. You come up with a game idea. You pitch it to Tim. He picks like 3 or 4 of them, and then you get a team, and you've got to develop a game. And the idea is that it takes your mind off the pressure of the project. Maybe you'll get some new ideas, some new experience out of it, which sounds great. But then it cuts to Zach going, why don't we just give them 2 weeks off? Because I think everyone would appreciate that a lot more than let's forget all the stress and now work on something else for 2 weeks, And I was
Because,
just
because I get the argument that because and you will see this in the documentary, like stuff that comes out of Amnesia Fortnite, either like they become games in their own right, or they end up getting folded into other larger projects, right? And that is interesting, and that's sort of that's sort of demonstrating the worth. But then also, that studio is full of naturally creative people. What would they come up with 2 weeks off? Probably a lot of interesting stuff, right? Like 2 weeks to just do whatever the fuck they want. Like, not working, but pursue their own creative urges, whatever. They'd probably still come back with some really interesting stuff that could then go back into the game. So I do think I think Zach's probably got a point there.
It was funny. And then Tim's just walking around going, "No, Amnesia Fortnite, boo, boo, boo."
I'm doing my funny video to the camera, and then I'm gonna not do anything. Oh, here's the guy who made Adventure Time. He's showed up. He's gonna do some drawings. Woo!
Right, okay, that's probably enough about that documentary. But I can't wait to finish that off. And I'm glad you're enjoying it, Tom. Right, next.
Michael, this is to Mr. Stewart. Your aggressive tone is unnecessary. All it achieves to clarify that the Michaels are generally more delightful chaps than the Stewarts. We wish you no harm and wish to live in peace as we do with each other. Also, due to our team ethic, we will wipe the floor with you if this escalates much further.
Has anyone else completely lost track of all
I
this
have
now?
lost track. I know that
this is the ongoing Michael versus Stu battle.
No,
we get that. But there was another name, wasn't there? Another name involved at one point. The whole war has got out of control.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, these name wars has now entered the prequel trilogy. You know what I mean? And you're sitting there going, I don't know who's fighting who anymore.
Lost track.
There's a Michael's turned up for some comic relief.
I liked it when it was all fighting, but now it's like politics.
It's political intrigue now.
Interested.
Trade agreements and between Michaels and Stewarts.
It was written well. But it's
let's not slag off Michael.
Harsh on Michael there.
Let's not slag off Michael.
Okay. Poetry, it rhymes.
We're going to go Alex79 UK. Hello, lads. I very much enjoyed the cheer chat last week, and in particular, James's bus analogy. This will be the last talk on cheer. Some might say he's stretching the analogy too far. I don't think he stretched it far enough. James said Sean was driving the bus. I think Dave was driving the bus, but Sean and Matt got on the bus for a couple of stops, got what they needed to go, and then got off like normal people. James, however, got on the bus, didn't have the right change for the journey, ended up getting confused, paid the driver twice while realising he was on the wrong bus in the first place. He asked the driver to stop, then tripped as he was disembarking and really hurt his knee. It was only as the bus was driving off that James realised he left his bag on there, and so phoned the best. And then it goes on and on. I think basically what we're trying to say, James, is that your analogy didn't work, and Cheers a great game. We'll move on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wow, no, okay, we're going to go Retro
great
Cat.
game.
Interesting comment by Sean last week when discussing the Gary Bowser having to pay 25% of all his future earnings to Nintendo. Where's the incentive to get a better job, he asked. Please can someone explain the UK tax system to him? I can't wait for his reaction to the more you earn, the greater your percentage you have to pay. It may break him. In your service, Retro Cat.
All right, Retro Cat. Obviously, I'm aware of how tax works.
I don't know.
My
Not
point
from the
is,
text messages we get on a fucking January.
look, it's just an unpleasant surprise.
Surprise!
Sorry, Sean, that was. It was just an open goal. I had to pop it in.
No, my point is that the 25% after income tax and like all the other shit as well would just leave you with so little money that I personally I would just be like, well, unless I'm like going to end up in like a point in my career way higher than I'd ever intended to hit, then I'm still going to have fuck all. So
So I might as well
fuck
live
it.
in squalor.
Yes. Exactly.
Would you possibly use the phrase, Sean, broken Britain at this,
Yes.
This time? Would you use
yeah,
that?
I would
Right.
say, yeah,
Okay. All right. Sean getting political on the
Yeah,
pod.
that is it for feedback. Go to tcgs.co/dear tcgs to leave your feedback.
Tears here.
Yes, yeah, yes.
It's time for the news. James Farley.
Hello. Yeah. So we've been putting
Hello.
we've not talked about this for what feels like months on purpose because
I was going to say,
Talked about what?
by design.
Do you want to explain first?
yeah. So obviously, okay. So the UK have blocked Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal, or rather, this is the
Okay.
CMA, the competition.
So now let's
Market
explain why
Authority.
we haven't been speaking about it.
Because it's really boring. And
It really has been, hasn't it?
It's incredibly
it's-
boring, and it's mostly people just chatting about stuff that clearly they didn't know what they were talking about, just like us. You know,
yeah.
it's the same sort of thing.
People in glass
Yeah, we
houses.
can do that ourselves.
You know, they wheel out Pacta, and he's all like, "Yeah, it's definitely happening. No problems there at all." And even after this, they still wheel him out and say, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, it's going to happen still. It's a whole thing." Anyway, so we decided to talk about it this week because obviously there has been a large development, which is that the CMA have blocked the merger from going through for the moment, and basically
What does that mean?
Yeah. Who's the CMA?
Okay, so this is the competition. It's the Competition and Markets Authority, isn't it, in the UK? I believe.
You tell us, James.
You tell us,
Yes,
James.
well, that's
News
what I'm-
person.
That's what I'm telling you. It is. You know, you wouldn't
Question
do that
mark.
to a news reporter.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah.
you said, well, no, but the news reporter wouldn't say, "I believe," isn't it? After
I know, but
I've heard.
I'm just caveating, and also I'm not a news reporter. It's
Okay.
fine. Anyway, I'm just regurgitating
that's
this
evident.
stuff. So anyway, they have said that they're not in support of this largely because of the impact of what they say on the cloud gaming sector. So
Right.
originally, everyone thought this was going to be all about Call of Duty, and it was going to be all about the fact that maybe Microsoft could gate this, and then Sony wouldn't have access to it anymore, and all that sort of stuff. CMA have come out and said, that's not our problem with this deal. That's not the big issue. The big issue is over the cloud gaming sector. So they said that this is stifling competition in this growing market. So this has caused.
You're all right, James.
Yeah, no, because I'm trying to think how to make this sound interesting, but it's really difficult.
Struggle, isn't it?
Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Microsoft want to do a deal to buy Activision Blizzard, and
You know that.
the regulator says they can't, and people are really upset about it. Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that they're not saying they can't, but they can't implement it the way they want to implement it in the UK, right?
Yes, and so then what's going to happen now is that Microsoft will appeal, this decision.
Right.
But then, even if they appeal it, it will then go back to the CMA, who will then have to decide if they're going to change their mind or not, which they probably aren't going to do. And then also,
It's like when I go to the garage and they say, you need your brake disc done. And I go, no, don't. And they go, yeah, you do. And you go, okay, how much? Really?
Yeah, go on
Okay.
then.
basically,
600 quid. No, I ain't paying that. Yes, you are. Okay. Where do I put my...
700 quid now. Oh, sorry, the cheap ones are out. It's 900 quid. If you're on today. It's coming in cars, no brakes, mate. So
So the CMA's argument with this is that they're concerned that what's going to happen is that Microsoft will monopolize the cloud gaming market because of the fact that they already own like the Azure network. They also own like Windows. They own lots of game studios now, and that because they're really at the moment the only significant player in cloud gaming, that they're just buying up all of these studios so that basically they'll have a monopoly when it starts.
So
to
what
become a
you're
thing.
saying, one of the major reasons why this acquisition can't go through in the UK is because of Google Stadia. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Jones?
basically.
yeah, that Amazon Luna, all that, all fucked it.
Basically, they've not provided. I mean, also on live as well. I mean,
Go-
they
yeah.
were
Go Kai.
partly to blame. Yeah, Guy Kai.
OnLive was
Gaikai.
better, I think.
Yeah.
Go on.
So-
Do you remember OnLive, right? And I never saw
OnLive?
this with Google Stadia, right? But OnLive's home screen was a bunch of videos playing.
Yeah.
It was like a bunch of gameplay videos as a background,
Mm.
and you could go to that background and select one, and it was someone playing that game at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it
was amazing.
And it would bring it up. I
Yeah,
loved
it was
it.
amazing.
That is
Yeah.
mad to think about that now.
Yeah. What were you doing, Google?
Ahead of its time.
Stadia or whatever it's
Ahead of
called.
its
Go
time.
on.
So Microsoft is furious about this, obviously.
Really? This has been the most interesting
I mean,
thing I've seen.
Are they furious? Because it all feels very performative. Some of the stuff
It is
they've come up with.
performative.
massively
It is
so.
performative, but I wonder who it's aimed at. I
Well-
mean,
Yeah.
the only thing that I can think. Right. Okay. So there was an interview, one interview in particular after this news came out, where Microsoft were very, very they very aggressively. They were coming out with some inflammatory comments about how this is bad for the British economy, and they'll regret this. It was like the language they were using was like, this doesn't sound like a CEO of it. There was anger there, right, behind the words, and obviously what Sean is saying is that it's intentional anger, and it's as you say, it's theatrics. But who for? Is it for the government? Are they hoping the government step in and go, whoa, 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 whoa? Do you know what I mean? What are they hoping for?
I mean, I don't. That is probably what they're hoping. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's all sort of like veiled threats and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
How they're we're an important part of the UK economy and all that. It'd be really unfortunate if we had to withdraw. or
Right, but
something.
they
Pull
could-
some
they
people out
can-
from the UK.
They can say those things, though, not on a public space like that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So,
this is
so
what
why
makes
make
them
it?
look-
Why was it on public? Was it on fucking
I don't.
news?
This is what I don't understand, because I don't know who they're trying to pressure here.
Yeah,
using
exactly.
Like a
'Cause
public,
if they-
using
yeah,
a public
'cause-
format.
Because if they're trying to whip up anger among consumers, I don't
Doesn't-
think that government body like that gives a shit, right?
No.
About what we think. I don't think. Well, I don't
No,
think
no,
the government
no,
cares
no,
what we
they
think.
would-
We'd have had a very
No, they were
different 12
working.
years if they did.
They're
but-
working for free. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think the general public look at that as like someone who's lost a finger. Well, but we'll be back, and you'll regret this. Like the person being kicked off of X Factor in the first audition. It was really odd. I thought it was really odd, and I was surprised to see an emotion like that out of such a big company.
I think it's definitely to
Obviously-
pressure the government. It's not a consumer thing. It's because it's about the this UK authority. I think they want to get make the government aware that this big huge conglomerate is angry and they think there's wrongdoings and the CMA haven't done their job properly and effectively and fairly, and so they're trying to whip up a storm and kick up a fuss of that. Not for consumers and stuff. This is all about trying to get the government to maybe, I don't know, look into it or do something or help or whatever. That's the only place it can be.
It's quite interesting because apparently if this deal doesn't go through, I mean, this is pocket change to Microsoft anyway, but they'll have to pay Activision Blizzard $4 billion in a termination fee
Yeah,
like, if it,
right, of course.
there's
right,
that as well,
yeah.
which
That
is
must be
another-
in place, yeah.
Yeah, because that was one of the things I think they had.
I
To go
mean,
and do
it's wild, isn't it? And honestly, I knew there were. I think we all predicted that there'd be some sort of friction around this, but I didn't think we'd be where we are now.
I think
And I don't. Go on.
it's also because like a couple of weeks or even like days before this happened, there was all that sort of like, they're gonna.
Yeah,
it's
it looks
fine.
like it's going through, right?
It's all going to go
There's
through.
those
It's
rumblings.
not a problem and everything. I mean, the next hurdle they've got to get through as well is the European Commission, because it'll be 22nd of May. They're going to say what their decision is, and this is what's quite interesting though, because a lot of what they've been saying, of what Microsoft have been saying in response, feels like it's also directed at the EU Commission as well. Because, like, I mean, there's that headline which was, this is the darkest day in our 4 decades in Britain, which is just absurd, the way the way they're sort of labeling that. But then,
Yeah, you don't know. Remember launching the Zune?
yeah,
Yeah,
But then-
that was great actually. There's a brown one I really wanted.
Okay, I got Google Brown Zune. Go on.
But then, I mean, obviously, like they had the Microsoft president on Radio 4, and he just said, I'm optimistic that the European Commission will continue to go forward as it has signalled in recent weeks and months that it will regard the very promises that the CMA has rejected as far more appropriate. It's all about being pragmatic. Don't we want regulators to be pragmatic? Don't we want regulators to actually talk to the people they're regulating? Don't we want regulators to look for solutions rather than reasons?
Oh, mate,
to
we
block
don't
people?
care, mate.
Don't we
I'm
want
not
regulators
involved.
to be sweet talked into doing what we want them to?
Yeah, no, but
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
basically come out and said, look, European Union's really reasonable and you guys aren't. And
Yeah,
so
you guys
we'd
are
rather do
wankers.
business there, instead.
Holy
And it's
shit,
like,
that brown Zune looks incredible, man.
It does
Yes,
look pretty
that's
good,
what I
yeah.
wanted one,
It is,
yeah.
There's
And
one
there's
with
also the
a Halo 3 logo on the bottom left.
Yeah, the FTC, there's going to be a US one as well, isn't there? So, if the CMA really do probably reject this, but the other two approve it, well, what does that mean for the deal?
I don't
Well,
know how that works.
the idea would be, and from what I'd been reading, is that they would have two separate. They would implement their plan as they want to implement it in terms of exclusivity or in terms of what they do with, like, for example, and this is what Microsoft was sort of hinting in their rant, is that they could possibly put Call of Duty on Game Pass in America and such, but not on Game Pass in the UK, and you would have to
That
buy
would be
it.
perfect for the UK, just to make
What?
it even worse over here.
Well,
you know,
that's,
all the
that's,
other
that's
shit we
exactly
get.
what Activision
Sarcasm.
said. Like
Yeah.
they were all like, the UK's going through a terrible crisis at the moment, and you're making it worse.
They need a Call of Duty.
They need a Call of Duty. Yeah, it's.
Have you seen
It's
it?
strange, isn't it?
I'm scanning ahead on the Brad Smith Microsoft president stuff, because I remember there was a few things he said that I raised my eyebrows at. One of them being so he says it's all about potential concern about what could become the cloud streaming of games, like you see the streaming of movies on a network like Netflix. He added, quote, "But this business is so small today that Microsoft can't even stream games to more than 5,000 people at a time in the entirety of the United Kingdom."
Yeah.
What
So
does that
which
mean?
is again, like, it comes back to this, like, Microsoft trying to be like, oh, we're really shit actually.
And this business
We
is so rubbish.
It's actually
like-
crap.
Is
I
that
do
true?
think it's. Well,
What's
that's what
that
I mean.
saying?
That seems very.
5,000 people can't run xCloud in the UK at the same time. Like,
No, he
What
said
one for
a
it?
single game, a particular game, right?
No, he said this
I-
business is so small today that Microsoft can't even stream games to more than 5,000 people at a time in the entirety of the UK.
so that's saying 5,000 people on xCloud. Sorry, one in, one out. Sorry, you got to wait for someone to drop
And-
off this. There's a limit of 5,000 people.
Well, that's just
Bollocks.
it, and none of us have ever had
Well,
that
you say that, but how
problem.
many people actually use iCloud?
Well,
Do you?
less than
It's gotta be-
5,000 apparently. It's just,
xCloud, yeah, it's going to be more than 5,000, surely.
yeah.
How do you know that though? That's a sheer
just-
guess.
You would have,
It's
yeah,
interesting.
it is obviously a guess, but you would have assumed more than 5,000 seems like nothing.
Mm.
I suppose I'm just so out of touch with it. I've got no idea how many people. Like, if you'd have said, "Oh, actually, it's only 200 people a week that stream on xCloud," or actually 50 million people, it's what in the UK? Everyone? No, I don't know. I don't know where we're at with that stuff and how popular it is.
I mean, I think he's, I think he's right insofar as picking on the cloud stuff seems weird, right?
I don't think it does
No?
at all.
Okay,
I mean,
go on.
I'm not saying. Okay, so first of all, I want to say I'm not saying I agree with the decision or disagree with the decision, but I can understand the logic behind it as well. Because if you look at what happened, okay, with streaming TV when that really exploded, and you had things like Netflix, you had Prime, you had all of those sort of services. Before that, you also had Disney going around hoovering up everybody, basically. And the
Right.
reason was is because they were going to launch Disney Plus, and they wanted all the content for that. And I really think that if they were to have been doing that right now, they would not have been able to do that. They would not have been allowed to buy like Marvel, Star Wars, like the
Yeah,
whole thing.
it's kind of mad, isn't it? If you think that Disney just bought Marvel and Star Wars, it's like, holy shit, yeah. I can.
And,
I suppose
and
it's in this context. I get it in the sense that, like, because on the one hand, part of me sort of says, well, like xCloud is the only streaming service I've ever really got on with. So on the one hand, I understand monopoly is bad, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, it's the only service that I've found to be useful. Therefore, am I really upset about there not being any competition when all the competition has
And
died
when was
on
the
its
last
arse?
time you used it?
Literally the other day.
Oh,
I
really?
use it,
Okay,
like
you use
sometimes,
it-
if Isaac wants to play stuff on the Xbox, and I'm like, do I want that taking up 60 gig on my Series S?
Right.
Premium real estate on that hard drive?
Sean
Probably not.
is one of 5,000.
Yeah.
so I'll tell you what.
4,999, Matt. If you come with a crash assistant.
So is Rachel as well. Actually, she plays The Sims
Yeah,
on
there
it
you go.
because you know.
Right, okay.
But as long as we don't both try and do it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll be
in
all right.
different countries, it's fine.
But I can understand the point that, like, so just because, like, you know, so it's all well and good me saying, like, well, Stadia failed on its own terms, right? So I don't really care that if xCloud was the only cloud service going, I'd be like, well, it's the only good one anyway, so whatever. However, I understand
That's
the
a bad thing,
worry
isn't it?
that, like,
Right.
xCloud's like succeeding in inverted commas just because basically it's one small part of a much larger ecosystem.
It has the
Yeah.
library, yeah.
Is not like, that's not fair competition to something like Stadia, which, like, that's like streaming was all it was. So you don't necessarily want this potential avenue for, you know, business, entertainment, whatever, to just be carried by something much larger, and then because that could allow that technology to fester or be run in a way that's not, you know, particularly beneficial to consumers in the future.
Yeah, if you have a company who is owning like so much of this content, then how can smaller startups even get a foot in the door? You know, with something like this, like why would
Yeah,
they
sure.
even be able to do that?
Yeah, no.
It's,
That I mean, that's you look at the same with like Netflix or anything like that. You look at small startups aren't going to happen, are they? You know, it's
Maybe
unlike
we should have a
when
go.
you
We'll do it.
when you like when you look
tell
at
us what game you want to put. We'll put it on Twitch. We'll tell us what buttons to press. £10 a month. We'll do it.
I'm super aware that we're talking about a very boring story that we've been talking about for a long time. I mean, this is the most exciting thing that's happened, but we
this is
still
massive.
feels like we're in the middle of it rather than. having
This
some
is
sort of
massive, not just in the
resolution.
decision now, but in, like, for Microsoft's future, which is weird. 'Cause I wouldn't have said that like a few months ago. I wouldn't have said, look, if
Right.
whether they buy them or not, you know, it'd be fine. But it feels like as the weeks and months go on, everything seems to be put into this one basket, you know. And they
Right.
may have said it was about the mobile play or the cloud play, but now what will Microsoft look like, or what will Xbox's future look like without this? You know,
Well,
do they just
I'm-
like if just brush under the carpet and say we'll move on and stick to not releasing games? I don't know. It's like, you know, something. It's just interesting.
Speaking of
what
moving
this
on,
means.
I am very, very adamant that we should move on from this story at this
Well,
point.
but in answer though to Matt's question about this, Phil Spencer
Okay,
did have
you-
an all
so-
hands meeting last Thursday to discuss this, and apparently he told like staff that getting Activision Blizzard is meant to speed up Microsoft's gaming plans, but it's not like the be all and end all of the whole like gaming strategy, and that they'd still move ahead without Activision anyway. And Bobby Kotick said it's fine. We can still just be independent. We've got loads of money, and it's fine. And yeah.
Microsoft in a weird place at the moment. I love their hardware. I love using my Series X. Right. I don't know what's going on with the software side of Microsoft at the moment. So they could talk about plans. They could talk about this. They could talk about Game Pass. Whatever. I think Game Pass is probably having. I'm not talking figures here. I'm talking about in terms of my engagement with Game Pass. Probably having the weakest year it's had since I signed up.
It's been a dry run, hasn't it?
It has been a dry run. There's been nothing
mean-
to get excited about on that service.
Yeah, like
right?
I was excited.
I don't
Minecraft
think. I don't
Legends,
think. No.
But
Sorry.
So I say I was excited for Minecraft Legends. Really disappointed by that.
Right.
We don't. I mean, obviously, we're recording this on Monday, the 1st of May. We don't know for sure, but things are coming out about Redfall being.
I think I'm confident in saying now that Redfall's going to be a fucking disaster, right?
It's looking
So,
that way.
I mean,
yes.
yeah. Oh,
You'll
none
know,
of us
you'll
have
know
played
by
it.
the time this goes out on Wednesday, obviously.
Yeah,
None of
because
us have
at the
played
time
it.
of recording, the embargo is tomorrow the 2nd.
I mean, that alone is.
Yeah,
I know, like a close embargo doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I can't remember the last time the embargo was literally the day of release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That
was
seems
on Friday. I was looking down a little cup of water, and there was just little ripples in it as it was going off. We that looks like it's going to be a stinker. I don't know what my confidence in Microsoft is at this point. I can't look at them and say I'm not excited about any of their games. And don't get me wrong, it's still going to be my most used console because it is my social console. Because Game Pass still has tons of stuff that I really like playing on it. I find it nice to boot up. Yeah, it's my social console, right? That's what I use it for. And I think they have that market in that if someone comes up to me at work and says, "I was thinking about buying a console. What do you reckon I should go for?" I'd probably say a Series S at this point because it's half the price or there or thereabouts half the price as a PS5. And with Game Pass, you've got a load of classic games, but none of them are cutting edge.
See, that's the thing. Like for somebody coming in new to this, it's still a great proposition. Like all
really,
that kind
yeah,
of stuff.
sure.
But it's just for people maybe like us who are looking for like new stuff all the time. It's not so great for that. I mean, the other thing the other news that we had with this is that their Xbox hardware sales are down 30% in like the first quarter, like of the year as well.
I'm not really surprised by that. There's not been much like buzz around the console either, is there? There's not been like a lot of advertising. There's not
no games released for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. I think I don't know what's going on because you hear about studios losing members of staff like high up. You hear about disasters launching or possibly launching on the console.
And like games that were supposed to be big exclusives
too quickly.
Yeah, but
Sorry, James,
that's it.
I was saying, do you reckon maybe they just bought too many publishers, stroke studios too quickly, and like integrating them all into the structure and
Well, I don't know because we don't know how those are being managed.
Yeah, we don't know if they are being integrated or what.
Because I don't imagine it's a case of like Microsoft have bought us, all the managers are sacked, and everyone speaks to Phil Spencer now. Like it's
sure,
like...
but I think James's theory is not like without. It's one of those that you say could be. Obviously, we don't know, and we'll never know. But like, I think that could be a plausible reason why things seem to be all over the place. They need a very good E3 period, don't they, Microsoft?
Yeah.
They need a very good presentation where they go, this is a shit we're working on, and this is why it's exciting. But then we've been saying that for 2 years now.
Yeah,
I really think they need Starfield to be very good as well. I think that needs to come
And
out
again,
in a good
that's
state.
I mean because Redfall's come from Arcane, where their output is like a bit niche, but everyone agrees it's always really fucking high quality.
Yeah.
So for them to put out a flop is weird and unusual, or at least for them to put out a game that at best needs a lot more work, right? Needs a lot more polish. But like Bethesda have put out a lot of stuff that at launch was not great. So my faith in Starbound on that front was never high anyway. So when you've even got a studio like Arcane putting something out, what did I say?
You said Starbound just before people start messaging us.
When you got studios that are normally consistent putting out a bit of a flop, and obviously I'm not saying like Bethesda's output is bad. I'm just saying at launch, there's often a lot of problems that need ironing out, which is partly the nature of sprawling open world sort of decision based RPGs or whatever. But yeah, so something like Starfield, I am like really worried now.
Yeah,
it's
two things on
completely
that.
unfounded, right? It's a completely different studio. It's probably nothing to that at all, but it just, I don't know.
But I know what
Well,
you
I
mean.
guess
It's
there's a lot
less
of pressure on it
reliable
being
studio.
good. But yeah, on that, I mean, if again, because like the embargo's tomorrow, but some people accidentally posted some early reviews of Redfall, generating about the word is that it's not great. Like that doesn't mean great. It hasn't been much in terms of Xbox anyway. If this Activision Blizzard deal doesn't fall through, and if Starfield doesn't launch in a way it's supposed to, that's like I mean absolutely shocking. But on the other side of that, I mean, if we could talk about Jedi Survivor and the performance issues there. We've had even like the most recent Pokemon games launching in a really really bad state. If like these and Redfall potentially, but if we've got these studios who are who've been going on for a long time and they're putting out stuff that isn't up to the same standard, then think about Microsoft where they're building brand new studios or they're trying to integrate studios. There's little wonder why games aren't coming out at all, because if even established studios are finding it difficult to put out games that are polished, then new ones or ones that are in a state of movement, if they get integrated into the whole business, then no wonder they're saying just hold off on everything until we're actually happy with the product. Because the worst thing they could do is here's all our studios, here's all the games, and they all turn out to be less than satisfactory. So it's no surprise they're not showing us anything. It's just disappointing.
But with something like Redfall, okay, we don't know obviously the state of this yet. But if it is being released in a mess, why would they release it? Like it just seems
Yeah, it
crazy
makes
to
no
me.
sense for a game that's so focused on Game Pass and stuff, right? But I'm assuming there's contracts made. There's, and you got to remember that every month it's not being released is money being put into pre-release development. Do you know what I mean? So that's seen as not a total loss of that month's investment, but it will be a percentage loss of that month's investment.
But then also, maybe they're just thinking, we get it out, get it on Game Pass. Okay, it's a bit of a mess to start with, but we can just
No, because
keep
they're doing
patching
that
it
with
until it's
disc
good.
games. They're doing it with non as
Yeah.
Plus, I think the reputational damage is still significant enough, right? Even though
for sure.
Even though, yeah, like it's easy for us to be like, well, I didn't pay for this, so it didn't really matter. But like, that's still a game we were looking forward to, and are potentially now going to be disappointed by. And yeah, okay, maybe it makes a big comeback in 6 months. Who knows? And I guess the beauty of Game Pass is we will be there to try it.
Exactly.
Whereas if we'd bought a copy of it, we might just trade it in a week. As soon as Zelda comes out.
But
I
then
don't
did
know.
anyone go back to Halo Infinite?
There's nothing to go back for, is there?
I do need to try. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd still like to try it again. It was a good game.
We played it in co-op recently. It was good. But
It is good.
still-
That's what's so excruciating about that game is it's good.
Yeah,
They just
it's
the
good.
support just wasn't there, was it? The pipeline for
bizarre.
Microsoft need to hit big style, so it's
Yes.
it's a concern.
Cool. Next story.
Okay, next story is that Vice is shutting down Waypoint.
Can we get some good news, please?
Well, the next one's maybe good news.
Okay, cool.
But so they're shutting it down. So they're shutting down the website, the podcast, the streams. It's all going to end on the 2nd of June. And I mean, do you want to hear what Patrick Klepek said about it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so he said, Waypoint should have ended a long time ago. We've always been an extremely weird website. Our podcast sign-off is fuck capitalism, go home. After all, but we survived 6 long years. That's a goddamn eternity in media. We tried to hold on as long as we could. Waypoint Plus was a godsend, and to all the fans of the Waypoint that showed up on day one, know that your contributions in spirit and money were a huge reason we weren't laid off sooner. You, alongside my talented colleagues now and over the years, made waking up every day a joy. So, yeah, it just sucks, doesn't it? This is
It's incredibly shit news.
You were a big fan of Waypoint, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, it's in sort of recent months. It's like I've always said, in terms of listening to podcasts, I try and get away from game stuff. But yeah, Waypoint was one of the few that I would make time for. It's not to be like, oh, but on the bright side, so they're continuing for a month, and they're still writing, they're still podcasting and everything. And so they put out an episode like the day after they were given the news, and. It, like I say, I'm not saying that it's good that this happened, but it is a fascinating listen because you are getting a snapshot of so the hosts on the podcast, like where they are in terms of like their own careers and also how they see games media panning out, right, as it currently stands, which obviously it's not been a great time. Like the last few years, there's been so many layoffs, and it's just a really interesting listen. If you're interested in the current state of games media, I think it's just really fascinating to listen to. And fair play to them for like just continuing with their jobs, right? Because I think most people in like a public facing role, if you're getting made redundant, it's like the first thing they do is like take all the keys off you and be like, right, don't like, because surely you're going to act up or whatever. Yeah. But that's not happening. That they are continuing.
Why not?
So often with
why not act up?
So often
fuck capitalism. You've just been made redundant, mate. Go on, fuck shit up on that pod. Come on.
But so often with podcasts and websites that we love and they get closed down, it's like an instant thing. Whereas we've got like a month, a final month, rather than just like, that's it. That was the last one last week. You didn't even know. You couldn't say goodbye. You couldn't listen. Knowing it was coming. But so now we've got that at least. But I mean, like they've gone for a lot. Like even there's a few years ago where they were it was Vice Gaming, and then they rebranded, and then there's a couple of you kind of thought, the writing's on the wall there with other. I think some people did go at that point and. Sean, as you say, general state of games media is just not great. I mean, I think as Ren or Raven said today or yesterday, like she does. I don't think they want to go back into games media. Yeah. And someone else who's leaving said, I'd rather just do other things or work in games development rather than games media. Unless there is like an amazing site, an amazing opportunity, but it's not something they're looking for.
Yeah, like
I've genuinely got nowhere to go for games media at the moment.
I was thinking this the other day. It's like
I don't read the reviews anymore because there's no website that I'm into where I read the reviews. I don't.
There's no there's
many
podcasts
plenty of people
anymore
that I get into.
Yeah, there's plenty of reviewers who I know their shit, but there's not many now. There's very few sites now where I'm like, oh, that is a place for people like me who like the things I like. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a weird one. And I should say, like, this is not to be smug, but this stuff does make me really grateful for the way we do things and the fact that, like,
we are the best. We are the best. You're right, Sean.
No, I just mean in terms of like, that no one else can tell us to stop doing this. Do you know what I mean? No one else can pull the plug except us.
Only our partners.
I don't know. Joe could absolutely pull the plug. She could absolutely pull the plug.
Well, she stopped you doing it, but we'd be all right, wouldn't we, guys?
Come on, leave off.
But do you know what I mean? Like, I'm super supportive. Super appreciative of the support we get, and the fact that like doesn't have to pay us, but it does, and that's really useful. Not just like in terms of life, but also in terms of like being able to buy stuff for the show and like.
Why are we getting into this? I don't know. It's just the way you put it. It scares me.
Just trying to be sincere, Dave.
I know.
No, I'm just saying, like, we don't have any of these worries, right? It's like we have the perks, but none of the negatives, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh God, yeah. And like, I mean, we do have the perks without the negative. I think the negative side of what we do is that we're doing it in our free time. Like, I genuinely do that. It's getting to the point now where it's, I've mentioned before, I might be managing a little league side next season. I'm on the board of directors for like the residents or whatever, all of that stuff. And I just think, wouldn't it be wicked if I did 4 days a week and then did a day of TCGS stuff? Like,
there is that, there's always that dream of like, well, what, like, I as I'm sure we all are really proud of like the stuff we put out. But part of me is like, God, but could you imagine if we were doing this? Like, what could we do if we were doing this like 4 or 5 days a week? Right? Yeah. Like, and we were if again, our lives would be completely upended to do this. Yeah. But what if we all worked in the same building and could just collaborate on stuff constantly? Like, that would be amazing. Maybe we'd get sick of each other. Who knows? Maybe the site would end in a year.
God, fucking hell! Yes, we would get sick of each other. TCGS. Was it patreon.com/TCGS? If you would like to see that happen, then anyone
see this thing dead within 6 months.
Can you imagine us all working in an office? Honestly, you'd be doing all the work, right? You and Matt and Sean would be doing all the work, and I would just have my chair constantly focused on James with like a 4K camera filming him all day. David, what are we going to do with this footage? I don't know, make a documentary. called James Farley's Diaries, and I'm just going to film him all day long. That's what I
You'd be
want.
sitting there and you'd be like, come up with an idea. Come up with an idea.
Oh
You'd be
my
like,
god, yes! But here's the thing, though. Look, James, come up with an idea.
No, I'm not doing that. Not now. Not now.
Ah, it's a shame. I like it when you do that because it's always gold. It's always gold. Takes to the ocean. I mean, that was off the top of his head, Sean. It was
Top of the
off
dome.
the top of his head.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. He's rubbing his
just on
head
the-
because I mentioned his head. Go on.
Just on subject of like games
I
media
think
and
so
whatnot,
much.
like we've got IGN, we've got Eurogamer, we've got GameSpot. They've all. I mean, less so from
Sure.
Eurogamer, but definitely from GameSpot. You've heard a lot about redundancies in the last few years with various owners and whatnot. But them three are still going. And I do go on Eurogamer. I look at the news on the homepage, and that's kind of
Stale.
it, really. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a mention here of Launcher at the bottom of this piece on GamesIndustry.biz, and that was like the games vertical for like the Washington Post. Like, I think we're going to see hardly anything new released now. Like, it's we've had magazines here and there, but it's even
funny,
fewer
like,
websites go launch because of this.
I remember when Vice first started doing games stuff, because there's always like, again, it's been a while now. I think the last one was the NME, but like when a sort of traditionally non-gaming outlet starts doing game stuff, obviously to get the momentum going, they put quite a bit of money into it, and you can see it
Yeah.
like among the freelancers, everyone being like, "Fucking hell, get on Vice!"
Yeah.
They're paying like
Yeah,
250
yeah.
quid for it.
Yeah. They've not learnt their lesson.
Exactly, and then it's like, and then year one ends, and they're just like, this isn't working out. the
Not
way we hoped.
viable, baby.
What was that one that John Davison was involved with? Was it Glixel? Was that the name?
Yeah, I love that
Oh, yeah,
podcast as well.
Yeah,
Pixel
it
was
was
great,
great.
and that came and went. That was related
Was it
to
Rolling Stone? Like Rolling
Yeah,
Stone?
Rolling
ran
Stone.
it?
Yeah,
Wasn't that one of the early wasn't that one of the early running jokes on this podcast? Where James would only
Yes.
get his opinions from
Glixel?
Glixel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Miss
Oh, what they
those
say
days.
on Glixel this year.
Miss those days.
But again, it comes
Reliable.
back to that thing, doesn't it? Of like, if it remains like this unstable, no one's gonna stay in games journalism past a certain age, and like something will be lost there. Like it shouldn't. There's nothing inherently wrong with like people in their 20s writing about video games, but as the audience ages, so should the people writing about it. And no one who's
but I
got
also
a
think-
family is going to want to stick around in games media at this.
But I
point,
also
right?
think the audience is getting smaller and smaller. So when we were kids, we would read everything anyone had to say about video games because it was unique and it felt different and it felt like a small club, right? And then you look at what KSI has done for FIFA and what you got. Speed, is it he does FIFA stuff as well? You look at the audiences are now looking for that sort of content and not heavily read. So those people that may have been into reading reviews and deep dives into video game development, I'm not saying that audience has gone away because it will never go away. That's the whole point. People will always obsess about video game development and in-depth dives into video games and games criticism. But I think that pool of people is smaller. Whereas obviously video game, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wildly off target with that. And that's very possible. I'm not in touch with what 20-year-olds want to read about, right? But the feeling I get is that the money goes where the audience is, right? Like that's it. That's the long and short of it. The money goes where the audience is, and the money goes, and the marketing goes towards YouTubers, streamers,
TikTok,
and the like. TikTok.
And this is it,
It's
'cause
not
I
going,
think
it's not going to
we've-
the websites that are employing 20-year-old people that have the money in the bank to bankroll their small wage. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
Yeah. And I think we probably saturated the, like, okay, you lost your day job at a big website, just go to Patreon. I feel like that's probably, not necessarily over.
No
at
way.
this
I mean,
point,
like,
but,
even Nextlander started last year. For, like the guys that left Giant Bomb, like that. That's still, Jeff left. Left. He's got his own one. Like, I think that'll still
that's true.
happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people would love is if the people from Waypoint now started doing Patreon. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that would be a thing. You know,
Well, because they mentioned that on the podcast,
Okay.
and Patrick's thing is basically like, actually, when you add up all the shit that Vice took care of, you know, like all the, you know, employment stuff,
Healthcare.
yeah, all that shit. He's like, that fucking adds up. Like,
Yeah.
and so he's like, so yeah, of course it's tempting to just be like, yeah, we'll go to Patreon, that'll be fine. It's like, actually, we don't even know how much we would need for that to be viable, like money wise.
It sounds mad, isn't it? Because Patreon is kind of a godsend, like not only for creators, but also for like I use it as a punter as well. You know, I'm subscribed to a few Patreons,
Yeah.
and I fucking love them because you know every time you get that post with exclusive content, or you know, or just knowing that I'm going some way towards supporting something that I enjoy personally on like a level, like I love that shit. And I think it has opened the doors for lots of outlets for sure.
I really like that sort of like appreciating, like it's like direct appreciation for something. You're like just saying, I really think your stuff's great.
Exactly. You're not paying all right, Patreon take a cut or whatever, but it's a smaller cut than say it would be for a network. You know, you think about, you know, how many times, you know, shut up, Dave. You know, the like Always Sunny in Philadelphia got cancelled like 3 times, was it?
Yeah.
And you just think, if people could just all chip in for the next series, obviously it's still going now, but you know, they would. You know, stop. What is going on with my vocal tics tonight? Stop it. Right. I mean, this has been a dry show, isn't it? What are we doing?
Okay, next story.
I mean, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed
yeah,
it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
it's
slagging
alright.
it off, but let's laden it up, baby.
So, Nintendo is returning to Gamescom this year. This is the first time since 2019, and yeah,
E3's like, so there's a
something
chance
happened.
then.
Something happened in 2020. Did it? It was something.
Yeah.
But there's, I mean, nobody knows what they're going to be showing yet. But last time that they did Gamescom, they did come with all the stuff that they were going to release later in the year, and so I think people are hoping there's going to be more of a indication of what there's going to be after Zelda and Pikmin 4. But also, more great news is that Jeff Keighley is returning for opening night live to kick off the show. So that's exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, that's
when-
good.
So when
What's wrong with that?
when is that opening night live? So-
Matt, what's your relationship with Jeff Keighley?
Well, he's the only one doing anything, isn't he? So that's good.
By default,
but
he's
it's
great.
funny. It's funny because every time we're slightly ambivalent or negative towards Jeff Keighley, you always feel like you need to come to his defence. He's doing all right, mate.
I know, but every time James is out with Jeff Keighley, like, well, what's wrong with that? It's good and it's exciting. Get season games.
He doesn't like Jeff Keighley. It's okay. It's okay if he doesn't like Jeff Keighley, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't get the hate.
Just because someone's doing something, I don't think I should have to feel glad that he's just doing something. I don't know.
Imagine if he wasn't doing anything, though. There'd be nothing.
Someone else would fill the void. Surely.
Would that be bad?
Yeah, I do think
another.
Would that be bad?
Yeah.
But could you imagine if someone come to you and said, "No, Matt, if Jeff Keighley didn't do it, James Farley would." So wouldn't you then be like, "I wish Jeff Keighley didn't do it," just to see what James Farley would be like on?
David, James doesn't even edit this show. Do you think he's going to produce anything like that? Love to
Can
see
we
you
talk
try
about
it.
that?
Matt,
Can we talk
I
about
could
that little
produce-
text that went out today?
I could produce a
Yes,
star-studded event. I think I could do it.
When amazing moment today where Matt said, "Look, I can edit the show this week, but I'm going to really struggle to do it." And sometimes I edit the show, sometimes Sean edits the show. And Matt said, "Look, if anyone's working from, if anyone's got time tomorrow, could you take over editing duties?" And I said, "I really can't. I'm really sorry." And Sean said, "I really can't. I'm really sorry." James said, "I would, but I have no idea how to do it."
I would seriously, but I know
That
no
was
idea.
it. I would seriously.
It's true, I would, but it would be a disaster, and then it would be.
Should we get
It's
you
a
to
bit
do a
of an empty
Patreon?
gesture, James, isn't it? When
Yeah,
it's
it was a bit. Should we get you to do a Patreon?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm more than happy to give it a try.
Maybe not the main one. Maybe
Yeah.
we do a test. Should we do a test? We'll do like a test, like a
let me
10-minute
do-
pod.
Yeah.
and we'll put it
or
out
do
on
we just-
Patreon next month.
Or do we just do it like a Capone edit? We put out the real one and then the Farley edit separately.
No,
No,
I think James can edit the main show because we'll have all the files to do the real edit if James fucks it.
Yeah.
So
If.
Okay, listen.
Then I have
listen.
the time pressure as well.
Let's
because
do a 10-15 minute, but we did 2 podcasts for the bonus patrons like last month. Let's do a 10-15 minute little bonus podcast for those people on Patreon, and we'll let James Farley edit,
and
all
the
right?
bonus podcast will be us running through how to edit a show.
We're
That's not a
giving
bad
him
idea,
advice.
actually.
Are we
right.
making him publish it as well, Matt? I think we should.
Let's
don't know
not
how to
push-
publish
let's not
it.
push
Be like, there's the login, off you go.
No. Let Matt
Although
publish it.
that would be kind of mad if we're like, okay, the instructions of how to do it, you need to do it in order to get the instructions out properly. Because it's like saying, it's like a puzzle you've got to solve to actually solve the puzzle. So yeah, let's do it that way. It sounds quite fun.
Cool.
Sounds
You up
good.
for that? Where are we? Are we still in the news?
Yeah, we've got
Yeah, we're
one,
waiting
one
for
last,
James to start next story.
God, all right, got it.
one last story. So EA is planning weeks of Star Wars Jedi: Survivor patches to
Wars.
fix bugs and performance issues. And so yeah,
Star Wars. Can we?
Star Wars.
Is
Star
that the?
Wars.
Is that the?
Star Wars.
Well,
Yeah.
write that one down, Matt.
Yeah, it's on.
Right, should we just get to what you've been playing then? Because this all ties
Yeah.
in, doesn't
Might
it?
as well, eh?
What you've been playing, and we have all been playing the big release this week. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. James, do you want to go into why you're angry about the title of this game?
The title's just weird, isn't it? Like why? Because like you see, normally with these things, it's like Star Wars : and then whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then this time it's Star Wars Jedi : Survivor. Now I know you're right, David. It is because the
It
last
like
one.
preempted it. We're not
Yeah.
supposed to talk about it. The last one was Star Wars Jedi : Fallen Order.
But that's
I
weird.
think, but the
still.
difference there is that everyone just called that Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas no one's calling this Survivor. Either. Everyone's calling it Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, but hold on. Wasn't Rogue One called Star Wars Rogue One a Tale or some shit? What didn't it have like a longer title?
The start, yeah, I don't know.
What's it
But
called?
it just reads though that it should be Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Jedi Survivor. Yeah.
You know, it's just a.
But it's not.
weird.
You've got it wrong. It's fine. It's fine if you've got it wrong. The series is called Star Wars Jedi.
Is it?
But then
Yeah.
in itself, isn't that a weird thing to call a series? Because surely there's loads of Star Wars things that could be Star Wars Jedi.
Yeah.
They're in
but
all
there's-
the Star Wars things. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I know, but that doesn't. This is Star Wars about Jedi and that. Listen, this
get on with the game.
Yeah.
So obviously, let's recap. So
okay,
Fallen
cool.
Order, I really enjoyed it despite its flaws.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sean sort of enjoyed it despite its flaws. I think
Yeah.
Matt sort of enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
complained about stuff that's in every other game that he praises about.
Well, another bit. I enjoyed it. I would say it's like a 7. I enjoyed it. I was excited for the sequel if they fix
I'd
a lot
say
of
it's
things I had
about a
issues with.
7. Yeah, I'd say a 7's
Yeah.
probably right. 7.5 maybe. And James,
I loved
what
it.
was your?
I really
You
loved
loved
it
it,
because
right?
I played
Yeah,
it
yeah.
later, like than everyone else, and I thought I really loved it. I'd give it
Okay.
an 8. There you go.
All right, that's an 8.
Well, not to put the cat amongst the pigeons, guys. I'd give it a 6.
No, well,
Fucking
that's
hell.
nonsense. That is fucking nonsense.
Is that like an edge 6 though? So really,
Sean Bell 6,
Yeah, well,
mate.
sure,
It's
Sean.
Sean Bell 6.
Sean is, I would say that. So where are we? Let's do that first. How long have you been on it, Sean?
How many long have I been on it? I'm not sure in terms of hours, but I'm at Jeddah, so which is like so after the opening bit, you then go to another planet, and then I'm on the planet after that, and I've done that.
Oh shit! Okay.
I've done that, and I'm about
wow.
to go somewhere else. Yeah,
Shit, you must be like
put quite a lot of time into this
like
week.
10 hours then. 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours.
At least, yeah, at least that I would say.
Oh, wow,
Right,
you've
right.
hammered
So
it.
I'm only like 4 hours. I'm in the bit. You know the bit. Well, no, I've just done the bit where there's all that shit on the floor.
Yeah,
Know what I
I'm
mean?
up to.
Yeah.
I'm up to
All
there
the
right
shit.
now.
There's just all the shit
Yeah.
on the floor.
Yeah.
And you go, no, you can't go in that shit. Why? It
And
doesn't look like it's rendering properly.
It's that and
but-
that massive bird that's there as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
where
yeah.
I'm up to,
Trico
yeah.
turns up. We should be very clear that we are going to talk probably about the opening of the because people are probably already angry about that.
Yeah.
I mean, is
Matt,
careful.
I mean,
giant
in
bird.
terms
Who
of like, this isn't me shitting on it. I'm enjoying the story and the characters and stuff. However, I've not seen anything yet where I'm like, oh, I better not fucking mention that because that's a spoiler, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's been pretty,
with Star
like,
Wars, anything can really happen, can't it? So
Yeah.
I don't think anything. I definitely think meeting some characters and stuff has been quite big. If you really enjoyed the first game, yeah, but you're probably right. You're probably right. There's been a couple of twists here and there as well, which have been really interesting. So
the
think-
stuff I wouldn't want to spoil is more mechanical than
right,
story
okay,
stuff.
okay,
But,
okay.
but
Sure.
I won't. So.
Matt, you're early on.
Yeah, I've been away this weekend watching snooker. So no, I'm only like 45 an hour into it.
Okay.
And I've already had some technical issues, but that's
So
about
I
that.
think the thing we need to start with is that I can't quite believe two things. I can't quite believe how unpolished this game is, and the second thing, because I'm playing on PS5, James, you're playing on PS5, Matt, Xbox. And you're on PC, right, Sean?
I am.
Which is meant to be the disaster platform
Well,
for this game.
yes and no. In what sense? Because in one
Well,
way,
it's the one that everyone seems to be complaining about.
well, I mean, for the PC version, so the performance was poor on certain configurations of PC. It's been all right
even like
online.
top of the range, like
Yeah.
bleeding edge spec, it was like poor performance, which was the weird thing. I think a lot of people were
Whereas
complaining about.
I got lucky; it's been fine on mine.
Okay.
Like I'm getting sort of pretty constant 60 frames at 1440p without ray tracing because I've turned it on and off, and honestly, it's negligible.
Did you try it on the Steam Deck at all, Sean?
Yes, that's a no go.
That's a
That was like. To be fair, they've since patched it again with performance improvements, so I'll probably give it another go. But yeah, it was like 20 frames a second, something like that. Which is very much in the realm of like this is hurting my eyes a bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
go on.
the first game come out, and one of the major problems with the first game was the frame rate, right? And I can't quite believe, because I mean, we would say, look, it's a studio that's trying something new, is very ambitious, and I think there was some allowances because it was a new IP, even though it's not a new IP, it's fucking Star Wars, but it felt like they were doing something new, right?
It's a new branch.
It's a new game.
Yeah. This does the same thing. I couldn't quite believe how framey it was and how many graphical glitches, and it feels about 6 months to a year away. You know what I mean?
And this
Like,
got
it
delayed by
feels like
months.
The worst
Yeah.
thing for me is the screen tearing, like because it's
Well,
quite.
this is
noticeable.
it. So screen tearing. So I've played both on quality mode and performance mode. Right, performance mode focusing on higher frame rate, and quality mode locking the frame rate of 30 frames. It's tough to go back to 30 frames. I think when you're used to it, you get used to it, and that's fine. I do miss the 60 frames mode because I am playing in quality mode now simply because of the screen tearing and the weird graphical glitches. Yeah, there's a bit where I don't know if did you do the so it's got like puzzle rooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like shrines from Zelda Breath of the Wild. Did you do the one with the balls where you're like creating the bridges by putting the balls in different places and stuff? So on mine, there was these weird sort of white squares that were just flashing up if I was to look around too quickly. It reminded me of like playing a dodgy VR game where sometimes, when you're using VR on a Quest and you look around too quickly and it sort of stays, it's like the game's trying to catch up with you. It felt like that. And I was like, fuck me, I've not seen this in a game ever. Like, this is really weird. And then there was another bit where there was a thin strip down the right-hand side, which was all blurred and sort of like spreading about 3 or 4 mil into the screen. I was like, that's weird. It just, there's so much. There was I fought one of the bigger enemies, and when I delivered the killer blow, we shot up into the air. And then just floated in the air while
Cool.
I
That's the force.
I nearly tweeted it with the force is strong in this one, but like
Is this all in
I was
performance
just
mode as well?
well, that stuff. Some of this stuff is affected by that stuff, and some of the stuff isn't, right? So no, I don't. I'm not on performance mode now because the problem is playing on performance modes. The frame rate dips are way more noticeable, right? So locking it down to 30 frames per second, which is what I'm doing now, is frustrating because I don't want to play games in 30 frames per session, per second. But you're getting less frame drops, and it's less jarring to play that way. So, that's how I've sort of landed with it. I'm assuming what are you playing on? Sure, James.
See, I've been playing it mostly on performance mode because I tried putting it on because I watched the Digital Foundry videos, where they talked about all the different platforms and they said basically the PS5 and Xbox One is pretty much the same. There's very little difference in performance between them, and the Series S was the one that is. There's no ray tracing or anything like that, and they've switched all that off, but it's still like playable. But I tried. They recommended putting it on quality mode rather than performance mode.
Yeah.
And see, I tried going back to that, but I do find it really jarring. But then
it really
you
is.
have to push forward with it.
You have to push through. You have to push through because I was getting to the point where I was getting so frustrated with the frame dropping in the performance mode that I just couldn't hack it.
Is there less screen tearing then?
Way less screen tearing. Yeah, screen tearing is outrageous in performance mode. It's it's constant. Which again, I've not seen since like early 360 games that bad.
I was gonna say because screen tearing is a real
takes you out of it in a big way.
Choppy frame rate doesn't upset. I mean, the two go hand in hand, but like the very fact of the frame rate being lowered is less upsetting to me visually than screen tearing. Like screen tearing is just the worst. Like it just pulls me out of whatever it is I'm supposed to be playing so much. I don't know what it is. I just hate it.
And variable refresh rate is supposed to fix that. That's basically what it does.
I've got that on my telly and it does not do anything. It's look, it's not just that. I think overall it's really strange game to look at because some of it looks incredible, right? Yep. Some of it looks beautiful, and then some of it looks absolutely diabolical. Some of the enemies, like the beast enemy models, look outrageously shit. And I just think,
nothing's looked like terrible on PC so far.
Yeah, but the models are the models. Maybe it's down to opinion or whatever. But I look at some of the models and go let me give you an example. The sort of rhino enemies, the big rhino enemies, you go past a couple of them and they're sleeping. They look fucking terrible for a game in 2023. Like, I looked at those and just thought, it doesn't look like there's anywhere enough detail on it to sort of...
Yeah. I haven't obviously played much, but there's like a very super early cutscene. I think it might be literally the opening cutscene where you see like a ship go down like into this like huge structure or town or city, whatever it is. And it really kind of literally looked like a model, which it is, but it literally like a model's been moved down into this like almost like a pre-rendered background.
I was going to say
it didn't feel like a natural, like you saw. I don't know, maybe it's the lighting or whatever, but it just didn't feel like a ship was. You were viewing a ship go down. It was like a model's just been moved. It just felt really weird and alien, and I think it was probably lighting, but it looked a bit. I was
going to say the animation, if anything, if I was going to pick at anything, the animation occasionally lets itself down. I think it's like It's not even that it's bad. It's just not always as reactive as it needs to be to the action and stuff. Like sometimes
and you've when got you're doing that stuff. Sorry, you got that stuff where, like, if you go up to a box and you press a button to open it and you're not in the exact right place, it warps you in front of it, right? That's
stuff like
transition
that.
animation.
Sometimes, like the parkour stuff, just sort of really sort of weird, sharp, sort of juddery animations going on. It's weird. And again, it's that thing of like it's trying to put you in the right place. But it looks really unnatural.
I mean, I turned the game on, and even the opening animation, where like there's that kind of that circular kind of thing, even that was like hitching. I'm like, I'm literally loading the game up, and I was like,
it's the same on PC.
That's a great start.
It's a shame, isn't it? Right, because there are so many more interesting things to talk about with this game. However, in terms of talking to an audience about whether or not it's any good, you do have to start with this stuff because at the moment, although they've pledged they are working on it, this is relevant, right, to the experience you're going to have. Like this is an impact, and it's clearly not launched in the state that Respawn would want it to.
No.
That's what kills you. That's what kills you as a gamer these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's I've paid £65 for this game, and the developers are saying we're working on it.
Yeah.
You've sold me a £60 game. You don't work on it while. Like, I know it's an easy thing to say, and day one patches are a thing, and we're used to patching our games, but this crosses the line, I think, from a game that you can turn around and say, oh, it needs some, there'll be a patch in like a week or so. I'm sure it'll smooth it out. To me, going, no, this just ain't acceptable at this point. Like, this is not acceptable. There's not enough polish in it. It looks a fucking mess in places. The animations are shit. And I think, as you were alluding to there, Sean, what kills you the most is that there's clearly a fantastic game behind this.
Yeah,
because
it's depressing
I
that
would
this is what we
stop
have to talk
playing.
about.
Yeah, I would stop playing if I wasn't enjoying my time. I'm fucking loving this game. In spite of its flaws make me tell people that are listening to this on the edge, don't buy it. Right? Its flaws are making me say, if you're thinking, should I buy this? Should I not? There's games coming out, whatever. Like, I would say, absolutely wait until you've got a few weeks without anything to play, because there is no point in buying it now. It's way too expensive, and the fucking the state it's been released in. Wait until we're working on it. People should wait until they've worked on it then.
Yeah, so
Seriously,
just to clarify on that,
I think it's fucking insane that they're asking this amount of money for this game.
Yeah. So in terms of patches, so we're recording this on the 1st. I think today a PC patch went live, and 2nd, which is Tuesday as we record this, there'll be like the console patch, and they've put something on social to show what the fix is for Xbox, PS5, etc. So hopefully that does something. But yeah, it's just sad and depressing that for every game that comes out, we have like, Google name a game plus performance. You have to work. Which is the right platform? Is the Switch? Is it not this game, but does this game even work on Switch? Do I have to get on PC if I want to play the best version of this indie game? I mean, Digital Foundry. I mean, like they must be laughing because every game, I'm like, okay, this game plus Digital Foundry. Which one do I do? Which is the best mode to use? What's the best graphic mode?
Well, yeah, because I was being a nightmare. Like just pre-ordering the fucking thing. Like, I kept going back and forth. I was like, well, do I get it on the Xbox? Because obviously I'll be playing on the Series S. But then, like, and it's all very well and good. People will be like, well, you shouldn't have got the fucking Series S then. But then the Series X version isn't brilliant. Generally, if one version's not brilliant, the other one isn't either, right? And those tend to go hand in hand so far. Or if it's, if it's well optimized on one, it will be on both. Yeah. But still, there's that element of like, I did buy the cheap console. Maybe it's going to be shit on that. And then, then I was like, well, fuck, maybe get the PC version. But then there were rumors that, performance was bad on PC, et cetera, et cetera. And in the end, it literally just came down to, I've just upgraded my PC. So whatever the patched version ends up being like, it's still going to be better on PC. I was hoping to play it on the deck. I mean, that may happen. As I say, at the moment, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, it's just shit. Like, because obviously the whole dream of like the Xbox ecosystem, right, was you just buy the game and you're like supposedly guaranteed like a good version of whatever.
Yeah, the best version.
Yeah, but that guarantee does not exist, does it? That's not real. Like, that's not like I'm still having to like and ah about which version to get, and doubly so if I suppose if I had a PS5, that probably would have been the way I would have gone, because that would be the marriage of like, the arguably like the best guarantee of good performance on a console, and also the convenience of a console, right? Because that's the other factor is I'm like, I always say I don't like sitting at my desk to play stuff generally. So if I can get away with not doing it, because that's the other thing, because this uses that fucking EA launcher on PC, because usually my workaround is like, because I've got the Steam Deck in the living room, so I can stream, like really easily stream my PC to that. So I was like, well, fuck, I'll do that. So then I've got the convenience playing it in the living room, etc., etc. Now the EA launcher just completely fucks it. Like, Steam just gets confused about whether or not the game's actually running, and then doesn't stream it, and then just goes back to the menu on the Steam Deck. So it's like,
is that the same for other EA games on Steam Deck, or have you not tried others?
No idea, not tried any others. Okay. I didn't realize EA Launcher was still a thing. I thought they killed it ages ago, but no, they just killed like the Origin brand, I think, didn't they? And then
they killed that,
the EA app.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I say, this is all so frustrating, because I want to just talk about the game. But this
Okay,
stuff-
so let's do
this
that
stuff
then.
is
Let's do that.
important,
Look,
right?
look, that stuff is a mess. We've covered it.
And sorry, and just we should say that so there's people have been having issues like suddenly the main character doesn't speak anymore, right? Like literally silent in all cutscenes. There's been
Getting
stuff
stuck
like,
in chambers, they have to
like
reboot the whole
actual
game.
progression bugs, like they just lock you out of playing the rest of the game, stuff like that. So it's not just like performance is a bit bad or it's a bit janky. Like no, this is really ruining people's experience of it in some cases. So it's important.
So that's been covered. I fucking love the story. I love the characters. Every character I've met, they've turned Cal into a likable character. Like I want to get to the point where I mean, Cal was okay in the first game, but I do feel like I want to get to the point where so you can unlock loads of stuff, right? There's loads of stuff to unlock. There's loads of stuff to upgrade, right? What's up?
No, the best bit is when you like open a box. It's like you found a haircut.
Yeah, you found a haircut. Your hair, but you say that, right? But I want long beard, long hair. I want him to look like an old weathered Jedi
Obi-Wan.
as opposed to this, like guy who's been down a barber every fucking week. But I love the links back to the old game and meeting old characters. I love, I loved how they didn't go build yourself up again.
Yeah,
like that was the
you
most
just carry
important
on
thing.
as you left off, pretty much. Don't
You
you
literally carry on with all your abilities and all, and it's like nope, you just add to it now. And I'm sure there's some stuff like combos, for example, that you could do in the previous game that you can't do in this, and you have to unlock combos and stuff. But I was like, oh my god, you've given me all the weapon options, like the stances they call it in this. You've given me most of his powers, like that I can remember from the previous game, and all this new stuff is just getting me more and more excited.
It definitely feels like you're playing as a Jedi Knight, and you don't get that from the first game. I don't feel because it's
because
you're learning curve and all that kind of thing.
For narrative reasons, right? You are learning. You're learning to become a Jedi in that game, and this one you are literally starting off as an experienced Jedi, and you do not start off this game feeling weak, which I think is so important, and they nailed that feeling. I didn't start the game with it. I'm getting my ass handed to me, or like. Oh right, I've got to build up my health. It doesn't feel like that at all. It just feels like you're a badass Jedi. Like
you feel even in like the initial onboarding tutorial things where it teaches you, reminds you about parrying, etc. Like you can do all the force pushes, you can do all the combos straight away. It's really
so
refreshing to do that.
It's so good. And the combat, I think, here's one observation that I like to float. I think actually maybe it makes a little bit more sense now, but in the first 2 hours or so, I was kind of thinking, I wish they dropped the Dark Souls stuff and made it more of a sort of linear thing.
But
do you know what I mean?
No, but it feels like that to me. Like this is one of the things I was going to say. Up to the point I'm playing now, this feels really linear to me. This game, like in a massive way.
It's not.
It is. Right, yeah. My understanding is that it does open up quite vastly after the bit that we're doing, Joe.
Well, this is it, yeah. But yeah, I was having the same experience, and yeah, I think I'm still not 100% on board with the Soulsy stuff, just because of the way it feels. It does feel linear, like you say. It's the way it works is every area you go to, it does pretty much lead you down a specific path, and then you're free to go back and start exploring afterwards. But yeah, there's definitely been a couple of bits where I've died, and then it's back to the save point. You've lost experience points. I'm just like, oh fuck off! You're not that game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
That said, some of the fucking boss fights in this, man, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, really, the boss fight that I've just done. How do I explain it? How do I explain it without the starts off with the floating guy?
The floating.
Do you get that?
Oh yeah.
Does
that
explain it? That explains it, right?
Yeah.
That boss fight felt like, oh my god, this is like this is when the last game did so well. Some of the duels, some of the lightsaber duels were like, oh my god, this is better than some of the movies. Do you know what I mean? Like, this feels fucking great. And that was one of them. That felt like a proper little ding dong. Charlie sat down next to me and watched it, and he was like blown away, like loving it.
What difficulty is everyone on? Because I remember
Default.
enjoying it in the middle difficulty, the first one, and then I was getting frustrated, or I wasn't maybe in the mood for like a game where I really had to properly learn it, a bit more Dark Soulsy. So I took it down to not story mode, but the one below.
I did the same on the first one. Yeah,
there was a fight
way more
right
enjoyed
at the
after
end.
that.
Yeah, there was a fight right at the end, so I kept it on that middle difficulty right until the end. There was a fight where you took on someone, and it was a really
for
cool
me, it's
fight,
a sister
but
in the
it took me
jungle.
forever.
I was like,
I did that one. Yeah, no,
I can't bother to keep wasting time, so I changed it. And I enjoyed it more for that. But are you all playing on medium difficulty now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on Jedi Knight. Yeah.
Well, so how are you finding the combat, Sean? Now, where you're at? Does it get better? Or
really
I'm loving it.
I'm really loving it. Boss fights in particular are a highlight, as they should be. But like they because I was the same as Matt with the first game. Just sort of reached a point where I was like, I'm not particularly enjoying the duels. Ended up knocking that down a bit, and kind of felt like I'd let myself down a bit in doing so, but did enjoy.
You did.
It
You let us all down. You let us all down.
So far, staying strong with Jedi, because again I'm enjoying the difficulty more this time around. I don't know if it's because it feels more fair or if the combat's a bit sharper this time. I think one thing that's a massive change is the dual wield stance has a parry ability which is basically for people like me who are cack-handed, where you can use your force meter to just basically hold Y or triangle, and he'll just go into this like it looks cool as fuck. Like, you can be in the middle of a fight, and he just goes like, he goes in this meditative state, and his two lightsabers are floating in front of him, and he's shut his eyes, and then that just means you will parry the next hit, no matter what.
Oh, nice.
Like, you just hold it, but it consumes your force meter to do it, but it's a safe parry. But you can also buy an ability so that when you're doing that, if you release the button at the time you would normally parry, you get like a better counter attack.
Nice.
So there's still, if you're feeling confident, there's still that risk reward there. But if you're not, you can just hold it and you'll do it.
That's a big payoff.
But then it means you're not able to do other forcey stuff.
Right.
Whatever. That's really cool. And just some of the boss fights, like just when they click, like they're just so fucking cinematic, but also you're just like operating on instinct in a way that you do with like a good Dark Souls boss or whatever. You're not even 100% sure of because so like when you do one of these parries, you'll counter attack with like a fucking like 5 or 6 hit combo. And you just sort of, I don't know, it's like your brain's sort of switching between like what you're actively doing and what you're just watching because it's cool, and it's a really sort of weird space for your head to sort of sit
I had moments like that in the last game where I was like, I'm thinking about what I'm doing, but also I'm appreciated by how fucking cool it looks.
Yeah.
And what a thing to achieve.
Isaac watched me doing one of the boss fights, and he started getting like well into it and was like,
and Charlie's been all over this. He keeps going, push him, which is really funny. But then he's obsessed with me, like chucking characters off the side of the stage. Is Isaac like that? He keeps going, Dad, there's a really cool star down there. And I went, what, down there? Yeah. Why don't you go and get it? And I'm like, I don't want to jump off the thing. Sorry, James. While we're talking about difficulty, I must say, I read the difficulty levels and thought, oh fucking hell, this is a bit of a piss take, isn't it? So from hardest to easiest, this is what they've called them. The hardest is Jedi Grandmaster. Right, makes sense. Then Jedi Master. Then Jedi Knight, which is the default, which we're all playing on. Then Jedi Padawan, which is, it was a little bit of it. And then story mode.
You're not even really a Jedi. You're just sort of You're a passenger. You know?
You could have called it one Jedi, one of the kids that what's it
Yeah,
kills?
youngling.
Youngling, yeah. I'm on youngling difficulty.
Jedi youngling.
That's worse. That's even worse than story mode.
No, story mode is literally you're not even part of this experience, mate. Like that might as well say that. Sorry, James, what were you going to say?
I was wondering what everyone's favoured stance is. You know, which...
Well, this is something that's really interesting. So I don't know if there's more stances in the future, but stances is a bit of it's a misleading phrase, right? So stance represents what sort of lightsaber you've got. So I mean, if you'd have played the last one, you know that the 3 that you start with is the 3 that you have at the end of the last game. You've got a normal lightsaber, you've got a double-ended lightsaber, and you've got sort of small lightsaber daggers. You can split your lightsaber in 2.
I think they're the same length, aren't they? Is the single one?
Probably. I don't know. It's still fucking cool.
Yep.
But you could only have 2 equipped at once, which I
right,
found really interesting because I was kind of like, well, that kind of makes me feel that they're not all essential, if you know what I mean, or that 2 maybe are the same, and maybe that's okay. Maybe it's
not
okay.
more that you might change
whatever
it depending on the
favoured.
situation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, because you can't just switch them out. You need.
Well, no,
to
I
go
mean,
to
when you go to
meditation
like
point.
a point, what they call point of meditation or whatever.
Yeah,
they're
meditation
called?
point. Yeah, but there's also skill trees for the others, so it makes you just kind of think, well, if I'm using these 2, I'm going to put all my skill points into these 2 stances,
Not bother with
and the other
others.
one's just going to get lost. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the game going, they're not important actually. It's just which one you think looks cool.
Yeah, I was going to say,
And I'm
it's
okay with
personal
that.
preference. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, so your single lightsaber is the all-rounder. The double-ended one is better for clearing crowds, but it's not so good one-on-one. Whereas your dual wield is, I gather it's like worse in terms of like defense. Like it's like a much more aggressive, like sort of high risk high reward strategy. Apart from the very cool parrying thing. I will so this isn't a spoiler because you can sort of work this out when you're in the meditation thing. You can see there are empty. Well, there were like crumbled tablets where I think 2 other stances would be. So I've unlocked one of them, which I won't spoil, but it's cool as fuck.
Right, okay.
Like, it's
A lightsaber comes out your dick. Is that it?
Yeah.
What was it? Like a Spaceballs?
Who told you?
Spaceballs that did that, right?
But again, that's interesting because I've been putting experience points into 2 stances, and now that I've unlocked this new one, I'm like, well, I'm been in one of those old ones now. But I mean, but then you can spend a skill level to reset them at any point. I think the first reset's free, and then after that, it's just 1 skill point. To
God,
reset
the amount of stuff you can put skill points into is really intimidating.
But then,
It's like really intimidating.
but that's one of the things I was wondering with this. Like, do you really have to specialise with this, or are there going to be enough skill points to go around? If you see what I mean.
Well,
Like,
that's the worry. You don't know going into it. God of War has the same problem. God of War has the same problem where it's like, here's a shit ton of things to put skill points into. And you don't know whether you should be focusing in on something that, as Sean says, may become, null and void later on. Or it could be like Forspoken, where it just gives you a ridiculous amount of skill points to just fill those things up. And then it slowly ekes those things out. And I think that was the better way of doing it. Ironically, looking at that game for some sort of a good example is hard to do, but I think the way that handled skill trees in a very similar way was done better than this is, because I am massively confused as to what I should be putting my points into at the moment. And I'm sure there's people that go, well, there's no right or wrong. It doesn't feel like there's no right or wrong, and that's the problem.
I think I do miss, like when Platinum Games started, because they've always had unlockable abilities, but they would start like highlighting certain abilities, like there's tons here, but probably get this one that lets you dodge like enemy attacks or whatever. Like actually that does sound pretty fucking important. I should probably buy that. So it is leading you a little bit to like the sort of quite essential moves, and then beyond that it's kind of up to you. So so with a game like this where there's no assistance with that whatsoever, you're like, oh, what am I potentially missing something that's like key to like a certain move set or whatever?
But Sean, you said you could reset. So even if you put them into the wrong one, you can reset and then reassign them, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's good.
there's always that. And to be fair, I mean, from what I've seen so far, certainly if you were to start digging into like the exploration and the hidden stuff and the puzzles and what have you, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of points to go around.
Good.
But we'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah, and I just right now I just love being in that world. I love hearing the stormtroopers talk to each other. I love being in combat. I love exploring. I love climbing. I love doing the puzzling. As we've said, the technical problems are absolutely gutting, but they're even more gutting knowing that there's actually a brilliant game behind this. And I think there are large moments. I've had gaming sessions where the majority of it is me being blown away, and then it just seems to be overshadowed with the technical issues, and that sucks. Like even the way the characters are talking to each other, going to the cantina, not the cantina. I'm not spoiling anything. Going to a cantina for the first time, and talking to the characters in that area has just been brilliant. Bringing some characters from the new game to meet characters from the old game has been brilliant. Like watching them interact with each other and like feeling the real heart that's been put into the story and the characters has been really, really quite interesting.
Really strong performances as well.
Oh
Absolutely.
God, I don't think I've
that-
heard one duff voice actor in this game yet.
And
Sorry,
that's
Ken,
one
go
of the
on.
things I've been really enjoying about this, because I mean I'm going around just chatting with everybody, and
Yeah.
often in games like this you're just thinking, I can skip through this and just read it or whatever. I just don't even feel the need to do that with this. I'm just enjoying listening to them. Like having it, saying what they got to say.
I forget which one the sister that you fight quite early on in this.
Yeah.
Oh, the way she just fucking screams.
Yeah.
Like
Brilliant.
you just don't hear that sort of performance often.
And you don't hear that voice out of that looking character either.
Yeah,
like they didn't go down the obvious routes with them
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
It really works. I've had one difficulty spike problem, but I managed to get over it. How do I? It's a real spoiler.
Okay.
The boss down in the mines. It's a side quest.
I know what you mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Did you struggle with that?
Yes, it was quite difficult.
If we're talking about the same one, I just decided to come back to it later.
Right. Okay, so it is very doable.
Okay.
But it has a instant kill move that was fucking doing my nut in. Like I
You
wanted
didn't
to
put it on
smash
youngling
the-
Oh yeah. We are talking about the same one.
Is that what you did?
No.
Did you put it? Yeah. But yeah, what a fucking great fight that was, and a great little thing. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was really good. And
Does
there
anyone-
was yeah.
Sorry.
Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, does anyone? Because I never really gave a shit about BD1 in the first game. I know everyone.
Oh, I
seemed to-
did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so everyone
I
seemed to
did.
love him. I just didn't. I don't know. Just wasn't fussed. Really like him in this one.
Yeah,
There's
he's
something-
fucking class.
And again, maybe this was something in the first game and I just didn't pick up on it. But like in this, but like whenever Cal meets someone, he's like, "Yeah, I'm Cal, and this is BD1." Like he's as far as Cal's concerned, like he is an equal.
That's his mate.
part
Yeah.
in the-
Yeah. Totally. And
That's
do you
cool.
know what? It's really funny is that there's so many, as we've said before, there's so many customizables in this. You can change Cal's hair, Cal's beard. You can change the various different parts of a lightsaber or whatever. The animation when you're building BD1 is absolutely superb, and whoever is responsible for that, you deserve a pay rise, because it's weird. You see BD1 sort of like hanging in midair, don't you? And then there are like parts either side of BD1, and you flick through them, and as you flick through them, they like sort of whack onto his body. And you're like, it feels so satisfying. And I'm like,
which
why
again
can't
is
the
why like
rest of the game feel this smooth?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't want to be like, oh, the animation is bad. It's not that. It's just the way sometimes it interfaces with the interactive nature of it when you're out in the world. Because there's so many bits like that that just like, I mean, and all the cutscenes as well. It's just beautifully done. Like, I mean, I don't know to what extent motion. Oh, I assume a lot of motion capture is used, but it's really well done. It's a good fucking game, isn't it?
It really is. It's a good game that hasn't been finished. Like, it just hasn't been finished. It hasn't got the polish. And what kills me is that that's I mean, we differ in opinions on the last game, but that was my opinion of the last game. It's a good game that hasn't been finished, you know, and it took a long time for the frame rate in the opening area to be ironed out. And for those wondering, it's Unreal Engine 4. So this isn't a Frostbite issue that EA have forced on them.
Yeah.
This is just I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. It must just be that they're not getting this game finished enough. Like they're not getting enough polish time in it because
maybe we're still dealing with hangovers from COVID. I mean, it's been in development for a while.
I mean,
a lot of
fine,
games
but that, as I said, the
have
last game come out pre-COVID, so and it's the same issues.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same issues, man. It feels very, very similar to the state the first game come out in, and I just hope they really fucking sort it because, as I said,
I think they will.
£65.
Yeah, they 100% will. Yeah.
But you say that, but it took them
already.
fucking ages to even get the last one up to a decent standard.
That was one of the things they said on Digital Foundry because they were talking about like the PC version in particular, and they said, you know, when Fallen Order came out on that, it was broken and had a lot of things wrong with it, and it's just really sad that exactly the same problems like have happened with this, like on PC.
Well, this is it. Like on the one hand, like Dave says, it's perfectly valid to say like this was £65. I should expect it to fucking work. On the other hand, I do understand the argument that like actually this is nothing new, and people should just stop buying games like as soon as they come out. I mean, we obviously, you know, we we do the show, and you know, as we were saying earlier, like we're lucky enough that we have an income that can support us. Like, yes, we can go out and buy stuff for the sake of covering it, but like for most people, I would not recommend buying most games until like, you know, because even with reviews, and this isn't me having a go at reviewers, because so often you have to review a game like seeing
Before
it for what it is,
patch, right?
but then and then you've got like a thing from the PR saying here's everything that's going to be fixed day one, and you have to trust that, it's because you don't want to put out a review. It's like, oh, the performance is shit, only for it to land day one. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's fine. But equally, so it's just this weird, shitty sort of gamble that everyone has to take until you see footage that people have recorded from the retail release on release day.
Yeah, there's been a big debate about that, hasn't there? About whether reviews should cover all that if indeed it is patched out by say day one, or whether there should be almost like a separate technical review, or they should just review the game on the game itself. I mean, I think sadly on today's how today's games are made, it needs to be part of the review because that's like, you know, ultimately a review is going to guide someone's purchase decision, and they need to have that, you know, but regardless of what the PR, as you say, Sean, promises or whether future patches may or may not fix. I mean, a lot of reviews, you see a lot of like outlets updating reviews based on, you know, new DLCs or where we are 6 months later, and I think we're going to see more of that. I mean, I think it's silly to shy away from that. I think it has to be part of it.
But ultimately, I think there's a line, right? I think there is an understanding that day one patches are accepted now, and there is an understanding that, you know, there will be, you're buying a new game, there might be the odd thing wrong with it that needs to be patched. I mean, we deal with it with our fucking software that runs our mobile phones. We deal with it in all sorts of factors of life. There's a fucking line, right? And you look at Cyberpunk, that was the wrong side of the line, and I think this is the wrong side of the line. And I think publishers need to take some fucking responsibility to not release a game in this state. Like, we've paid the most that we've paid the most that game will be on sale for, right? We've paid the most that like the game's just come out. It's at the top. It's the most valuable it's going to be in shops, you know. Yet we're getting served up the fucking unpolished mess. It's not on. It's not on.
I mean, publishers aren't going to change because, I mean, this has been like the second largest box like retail release of the year. You know, the IP will sell it regardless. I mean, this is it. Like,
we keep rewarding them for doing this.
Exactly.
But it's not.
It's up to
but
us
the onus
to
is not on
use-
us, though, Sean. The onus isn't on us. Like, you can't turn around and say, "Oh, well, if we keep buying it, they'll keep doing it." No, fuck off. I don't like that idea. Publishers should stand up and actually fucking have some pride out of what they're releasing, because ultimately, I hope people do kick off about it. I mean, but why should it come to that? There's fucking pride in what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
And I know you know, Dave, but like emphasis on publishers, right? Not developers, because fairly certain everyone who worked on this game worked really fucking hard and knows exactly what's wrong with it and all the rest of it.
For sure.
But are still working really hard to sort it.
Yeah, but studios are not entirely not to blame. Like someone high up at that studio might have guaranteed that the game would be ready at this time, and mismanaged the time that they had left, or underestimated or whatever. So some of the onus is on them. So it's not completely out of developers' hands. I mean, when we think about developers, we think about the people that are actually like getting their hands dirty with putting the game together. And yes, clearly they have no decision on when this game comes out, and I'm sure they look at it and say this game would never come out in this state. But I just think, fuck that, man. This is the wrong side of the line. There's not many games that you can say that to. I think we're quite understanding as a consumer, but like, fuck me, there's a few, and this is one of them.
It always seems to be like, well, okay, this is a massive generalisation. I was going to say it's like this seems to happen more frequently recently with third-party games as well, as opposed to first-party ones. And I do wonder if that's just because they know they've got a much larger reach of many more there's going to be a lot more people buying it, so it doesn't matter so much where there's not the reputational damage in the sense that there is for for a first party game that comes out.
And I'll say generally first party games are on one system, so that's a lot less kind of testing and development rather than sim shipping on multiple platforms, etc., and the testing that comes with that.
I mean, we should also point out as well that, and again, I don't think I'm saying it's a bad thing as such, but certification processes, right? There's a reason that the patch that's out for PC on this is like, it's coming for consoles. That patch is ready. They're just waiting for Sony and Microsoft to go, yeah, all right, it's fine. Like, they've got to go through those checks. Steam just doesn't have that, right? Steam just let you put whatever up. And I understand why Sony and Microsoft do it, because they don't want people necessarily just putting up whatever things that might potentially cause issues with the online services or the hardware itself, whatever. Like, there's a reason those certification processes exist. However, I don't know if there's been any like massive scandals on Steam with like the wrong version going up and something going really wrong.
The patch stuff is only really for the day one patch. After that, it's different. It's a different process,
right?
Where you can just bang it out.
Okay.
So, but that first major one is different.
Because I had this. Remember, I was saying the other week, like with Curse of the Lamb, I had the same issue where I was experiencing loads of bugs, and it was like, the PC version's been fixed. Console ? Like it's it's weird.
Such a shame that this has been the focus of the discussion.
It is.
And we will talk about this game again. I've still got many hours to get through. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to stop playing it. This is not going to be one of those situations where I go, I'll come back to it when it's fixed, because I'm enjoying my time. Like, say, for example, with Cyberpunk, I wasn't enjoying it enough to push me through, whereas this, I am.
Yeah.
So I will be playing this some more over the next 2 weeks before
I
Zelda comes out.
I really want to play it, and I also really want to get it done before Zelda, obviously. So I'm absolutely going to play this.
Because obviously, quite, I'm not saying they're the same, but similar appeal, right? So yeah, it's not like, I'll make room for both of those. Like,
no, everything else is going out the window once Zelda's here, so it's time to clear the decks.
Yeah, and just quickly as well, like, I'm absolutely not going to spoil anything. I don't know if you've picked it up on this yet, Dave, but really nice to have a Star Wars story about a Jedi that's not, is he going to be evil, actually? Or is he being tempted by the dark side? It's just not about that. It's about something else.
Right.
And which I'm not going to get into, but it's just an interesting dilemma for the main character to have as a Jedi, and it's just not the usual, but is he angry? Do you know what I mean?
It's funny because I don't know if you noticed, but it was something we mentioned on Star Calls when we did Star Calls, James, where we were like, wouldn't this be an interesting direction to take for the Jedi?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They had the opportunity to take it, and they didn't. And it looks like, I mean, you're further than I am, but it looks like that's where it's going for this game, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm
Although
excited
a couple of weeks down the line, Sean will be talking about his Jedi with like red eyes and like he's got the red lightsaber and all that.
Yeah.
It's happened again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough Star Wars. But we will be talking about it again next week, most likely. The only other game we got on our list is James. You have been playing. Did you talk about this game last week?
I did, but I finished it like as in the first of the two in the packs. Like I finished it and
Advance Wars.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, I tweeted about it. Like it's the best game I've played this year. Like in terms of the amount of enjoyment that I've had out of it and the feeling of satisfaction as well from like just from getting through to the end. And like I mean, yeah, the final boss, massive rush. But I just love the thing I loved about it more than anything is the way that it gives you the time to be able to like put together a plan to like deny the enemy something, and then it all comes off, and it's just wonderful. Like when that happens, it's like you're just thinking, okay, I'm gonna prevent. There's no way I'm gonna let them like have air superiority here. So you take that out, and then it's like everything like sort of clicks down. You're like like when you're playing chess or whatever, it's the same sort of sensation of like this
Better
plan
than
has come-
chess, I
this
believe I
plan has come
said
together,
back in the
you know.
day.
But
Yeah,
no,
it's better than chess.
it is fantastic. I mean, I've just started Advance Wars 2, so yeah, I'm going to be playing more of that because it's great.
That's another game that I want to come down in price before I'd take the plunge on that.
I mean,
It
I
just
get
seems
that,
too much.
but I get that. I mean, I as I said last week, like I'd rather pay less for it, but I also don't feel bad that I did pay what I did for it because I've really, really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's fantastic. Like it's the best. But yeah,
And that's what we've been playing this week. Although I would like to just put a special mention out. Mentioned it a couple of times in our WhatsApp group. But if you play PC games, right, you got Steam.
No, this is going to be. I will, Dave.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
Yeah, I won't.
Please don't look it up. But buy and play a game called Pineapple on Pizza, because I have been obsessively watching people play this game for 2 weeks now. Like I'm obsessed watching people play. It's 10 minutes long, and the less you know, the better. But Pineapple on Pizza, it's called. James, are you looking it up? Because I showed you it when you came over to mine.
I was reading the questions that we got coming up.
Right,
so,
okay,
yeah.
okay. But you quite enjoyed what you saw of that game.
I
as
did.
well,
I
right?
very much enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, Pineapple on Pizza, and let us know what you think on the on tcgs.co/TCGS if you do take the plunge. I think it's £1, is it 99p? I want to hear what you think of it because I cannot stop watching people play that game. That's it. Let's get to questions. Sean.
Hello. If you want to send us a question, go to tcgs.co/dear-tcgs using Netscape Navigator. Or what was the other one that no one used?
There was a whole bunch of them. I mean,
Opera?
obviously it's best.
Opera. Yeah. I was going
That's right.
to say
that was the one on the DS, wasn't it?
It was, and the Wii, yeah.
Yeah.
The one that was like it compresses the internet, so it's faster.
It's best viewed in Internet Explorer 3.02. Though. That's the
Jay says, hi lads, hoping I can ask for some specific gaming advice about Pokemon as I could do with a steer. I haven't had a Nintendo system since the DS and my last Pokemon game was White. In your opinions, which would be the best Switch title to get back into the series? Would it be a different answer for my 8-year-old nephew whose exposure had been via the cartoon and card game? Thanks so much for all you do, Jay.
I tried with
dunno.
Pokemon Go, didn't I, with Harry and Charlie,
Oh yeah.
because they're banging to the TV show, they're banging to the cards. Charlie turns around to me, and he said the first time he said this, I had no idea it was from Pokemon, but he said he come up to me one morning. Imagine this, you're in a daze anyway, you're feeling out of it, and your 4-year-old child comes up to you and says, "Who am I? What am I? For what reason do I live?"
Been muted.
Exactly like that. I was like, what? And he went, "I was from Pokemon."
Amazing.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Is it?" Yeah, from Mewtwo. Is it Mewtwo?
It's Mewtwo. Yeah,
Right. It blew my mind, Sean. So they're banging some, but they tried like Pokemon Go like once, twice, fucking hated it. So yeah, that
You
didn't
mean, do
take
you mean
off.
Let's Go, as in Let's Go Eevee?
Let's Go Pikachu.
Yeah,
Sorry, not Pokemon Go. That's the
phone one.
phone one. Yeah, no, Let's Go
Um,
Pikachu. He played.
It's Jay's question is a tough one to answer, just because I feel like for you, Jay, probably Pokemon Legends Arceus,
That
right?
is absolutely the one I would have said.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Because I know, like, obviously Indigo and Violet came out. Are they still really buggy and run really badly?
I don't know.
I'm sure they would have fixed it by now.
But the ones they released before that though were pretty good as far as I understand. You know the ones
Sword
that
and
were
Shield?
yeah, Sword and Shield. They're supposed to be great. I mean, in terms of they're more of as I understand it, they're more of like a traditional approach to the series.
Yeah.
Whereas Arceus was much more experimental.
Well, this is it, yeah. So, like, so like, would it be a different answer for my 8-year-old nephew who's exposed to by the cartoon and card game? 8-year-old nephew's probably not going to get on with Arceus as much because it's set 500 years in the past or whatever, right? Which in gameplay terms means nothing, but do you know what I mean? A lot of the sort of story-wise, a lot of the handholds just aren't there because a lot, like characters they might recognize or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Pokemon's been in a weird sort of place for the last few games now, hasn't it? As good as Arceus was, I do feel like maybe Game Freak should not have tried to put out 2 games in 1 year, because I think technically both of them clearly suffered for it. So I don't know. I think for Jay, I think Arceus is probably the way to go. And if you love Arceus, then move on to Scarlet and Violet. I would say, assuming some of the technical issues have been resolved.
Yeah, fixed since then. Yeah.
The next question comes from Kill Me. I won't. I don't know if that's a sincere request. I'm not going to do that to you.
Not today.
No.
Whoa, Sean.
Yeah.
Let's hear what they got to say.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, maybe if you go full Nels, maybe that's something we can talk about. Maybe we'll come to your house. Maybe that's a service we can offer.
What? What? No.
That's full
Let's
Nels.
move on.
That's horrific.
So they said, to end the games media being perpetually stuck talking about Microsoft and ABK forever, should Microsoft just buy the UK? Based on their current annual profit, they could pay off the UK's national debt in just 20 years, and our terrible financial situation should convince most MPs to agree to a BHS-style £1 quick sale. I mean, it's one way around
would
it,
say
isn't
that
it?
massive corporations have already bought the UK.
Yes, you could absolutely say
Well, this
that.
is it. And plus, if Microsoft bought the UK outright, does that mean we'd all have to use Microsoft stuff all the time? Would we be allowed
'cause I
any
ain't down
other...
with that. I mean, the phones, fucking hell.
Oh, God,
To go back to
remember
those.
them? Yeah,
Windows
yeah.
phones.
I mean, I like that because Microsoft buy the UK, but they're doing loads of deals with, I don't know, Boosteroid to offer the UK for 10 years on Boosteroid's streaming platform.
Two
Do you
stories
not
sound
want
like-
UK for 15 years on PlayStation Plus? You can get that.
Do you
There's
think
no way the CMA would let that go through, though, right? I mean, if they're
I don't think the CMA would be anything to do with it. I don't think that's how
Wow,
it
the
works.
whole country, you can't monopolise the world, mate.
Would it be the
Can't you?
UN?
Hey, that's the fucking title of a song that I'm gonna write, a poem I'm gonna write today. You can't monopolise the world.
Monopolise the world
Can't
apart,
you?
apart
Question
from
mark.
these arms dealers.
Oh, Sean Bell. Someone's been reading students.
What?
God, I just sound like a fucking student is what I was going for.
Someone's been reading students.
We have reading students as the episode
We are
title,
reading
please.
students.
Yeah,
It's
no,
quick
that's
time.
quite a good one.
I couldn't live with only. We'd have to do this on Microsoft Teams, guys. I mean, we
fuck
were
that.
using Skype, which is
Fucking-
technically the same thing, but
No, it's not the same thing. Teams is a fucking shit show. Could you imagine? I said this in a meeting. No one was listening last week. Could you imagine being one of the biggest software developers in the world and fucking it in the pandemic this badly? The people were initially using an app called House Party. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
fucking Teams is dog shit.
And
It's not
Skype
good.
had it. They've been there for years, and people went to a brand new app because Skype was so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Would
word.
we still have an NHS under Microsoft?
Uh,
Or maybe we would, but only 5,000 people can
Yeah,
access
but-
it at any one time.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it'd be full of microtransactions.
Woo.
But they wouldn't release any. They wouldn't release any beds.
All right, okay. Should we get?
Or when they do, they'll
Can
be
we
full
have?
of bugs.
They wouldn't release
Oh,
any
yeah.
bits. Can we have? They wouldn't release any bits as the episode title, man. Write that one down.
Okay.
MD Kraboffs says, when the Trendy Cool Guy Squad spin-off podcast starts, a nerd eye for the hip guy, which life coaching role would suit each of you best in this new show?
Oh, social skills. Me.
All right.
Well.
Can I?
Oh, come on.
Can I? I'm not really. Yeah, I'm just sitting there going, no. not really making my case, is it?
Counter argument.
So I'll be the food guy. I reckon Matt is fashion. James is culture.
James's
or-
culture.
Or
Absolutely.
mine
What
are
are you,
household
Sean?
repairs.
Household repairs. I'm
What were
food.
you, Sean?
Food.
Food.
Yeah. Teach you how
Okay.
to cook.
Okay.
Teach you how to drop
what
off your
was
dinner
I?
on the floor. What were you? Social skills.
Oh, social skills.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm after that. Matt, fashion.
I've just
Yeah.
googled types of life coaching, and food is not one of them, Sean.
It's in Queer Eye.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the guys. He's the food lad, and he's like, look, one of the reasons
Food
you're not
lad.
cool is you keep eating beans out of a can without
Yeah,
heating
but
them
you're
up
going to
first.
be like, you're going to be like, cook it in cola. No, Sean, we can't.
Literally did that today. Did a bit
Yeah.
of pork shoulder.
There
in
we go.
Fenton. It's
Get a
bloody
pot
lovely.
noodle
Yeah.
and pour boiling cola into it. No,
Let's pimp
Sean,
this pot noodle.
we can't
Right.
keep using cola for everything.
You can
Just get a toast, and spread some cola over the top of it.
just soak it in cola. Oh, can of Coke, pretty good on its own. But you know what's better? Dunk some toast in it, mate.
Now
Pour
you're
it
a
on,
cool
you
dude.
pour it on
Say
your
it.
crumpets. It goes in all the little pits in all the holes.
I genuinely
Put
thought
it
you
in
were
the
gonna say,
freezer.
how to improve a can of Coke? Pour some cola on top of it.
Coke squared, mate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
There's
let's
your
move
answer.
on. Maria Mendieta says, "Dear TCGS Komodo Dragons."
Ew.
Oh, I think that's a reuse. I think that's.
Ah,
I mean, it had to
Oh, there's
happen
an
eventually.
accusation.
I think
that
it's
is a
fair
shame,
enough.
Maria.
I mean,
All right.
no one
We're
else.
gonna have to ban you.
Yeah, no one else
Have to
writes in
ban it.
every week, so I think we'll allow it. Playing games previously discussed on the show has a haunting effect. It's uncanny how your observations and criticisms resound in my head when I play games like Titanfall 2 or Doom Eternal. To revive the lost art of the director's commentary, if TCGS ever put out a Blu-ray for which one of your co-hosts playthrough videos, would you like to create a commentary track? Keep up the stellar
Oh
work.
God, Matt
I know.
Murray and Super Metroid. Right?
Yeah.
That would be the one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Us
Yeah,
watching
100%.
that and commenting on that.
That
Yeah.
or the It Takes Two one we did as well. One doing
Yes.
because that was
Oh
great.
God, yeah, but that was so depressing. You both got so wankered on those streams. It was,
That was
really.
one, do you know, that
That
was
was-
my 100% my favourite stream we've ever done. I love that stream
Yeah,
so
that's
I
much.
don't
why it's
remember half
funny.
of it.
Well, that's a bit rude because I've done a couple with you. That's a bit rude.
Ever, David.
You
Hear
didn't,
that?
David, you
Ever.
didn't buy me facts.
No.
I like the one where Matt was running the stream and losing all of the mini games. So by the end of it, he was spread across the two windows, and he
Yeah.
just looked down and went, "Why does it look like that?"
That was that was when it was a second facts week, and I'd smashed James the previous week because I guess he'd lost the first couple and he got drunk and it was easier for me. But then I lost that first big one, had to drink the facts myself, and it went very, very downhill. And I think I don't think I won a single mini game all evening.
No. We had to call a stop at one point
Yeah.
because it was like it was going too far.
Well, no, I
How
was
about-
going. I kept going. I was just still doing my, I wouldn't stop. My word.
How about me, James, and Matt commentating over one of Sean's Sea of Thieves sessions, where we just piss ourselves laughing every time like he gets boarded by some random.
It didn't happen that often. That's the weirdest part. There was that one disastrous stream, which, by the way, Instagram recently reminded me was exactly 2 years ago. Delete that memory. Yeah, other than that, it's been pretty plain sailing. Yeah, it was all right. Really is a sea of friends.
I want to do some Bell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Rewatches,
revisit
commentaries
them.
over that. Yeah. Especially the one where you drop the food.
Yes, that was a good one. Enjoyed
That was a classic.
It was a
Right,
classic.
it's not a playthrough video though, Matt, is it? So Maria
cook-through.
Mendieta.
It's a good
Well,
thing,
yeah, but she specifically said playthrough video. So
In which case, it would be okay. Next question.
Tim Tam, the question man, says, hearing a bunch of 40-year-olds trying to understand the smash or pass trend will forever remain funny to me. I'm
All
38,
You
actually.
son of a.
what the fuck?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
hold on.
'cause
What the fuck?
this sort of thing's been around for ages. It's not. This
yeah.
is not a new idea.
Do you remember, did any of you ever go on hotornot.com?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was a weird way to
course
pass
I
the
did.
time, wasn't it? Just
Yeah. It
judging
was.
strangers.
Isn't that what Tinder is?
It wasn't as
Wait, no,
weird
what-
as ratemypoo.com.
Yes, rate my poo. That was a thing.
Did we all get like into lifelong relationships before internet dating was like really accepted?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Gutted.
think I'm. You got it? I think I'm pretty grateful.
I think
I
I'm
would have
pretty
liked to give it a
grateful as
go.
well.
I think like because
Yeah,
everyone
but-
says like it. Obviously, it's amazing in that it opens up.
Matt just swing the beer after saying that. For those of you not watching on the video.
It's my understanding is that like it's amazing into like obviously it opens up loads more opportunities, but also loads more opportunities for rejection and heartache.
Well, no, see, for me, every date I'll be on, I'd be thinking, you're just thinking there's probably someone else for next week.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to
I
commit
used to
to
think
that?
that
That's
anyway,
like actively
before
encouraged.
that,
Like when
before
you're in the like the dating phase, it's like recommended. Like you should like have like 3 or 4 on the go. Apparently.
Did you
just,
ask
just
New
because of
out?
Hmm?
Did you ask New out? Did you go
I
to work out?
I don't remember how that happened, to be honest.
You don't?
Or not
remember
the not
how-
the ins and outs of like. Yeah,
Well, let's
oh,
not go
did
into
I-
the ins
did
and
I-
outs, Sean.
Hey, easy.
Sick mother.
Matt's got
Um,
the best story. Matt, you know Matt's story, right?
No, don't.
Right,
I want to
well,
hear
just
Sean's
say the-
story.
Wait, okay, but just say how you met Jill, and that's it. Just say what the situation was when you first met Jill.
Most people know, but she interviewed me for a job.
Oh, nice,
How good is that?
nice. Did you get
How
it?
good is that?
Oh, I got it, Sean.
So, you charmed her.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean.
No, it's I can't remember if I asked her out on a date as such. I think we just met up as because we'd become mates because she was the best friend of my like ex is pushing it, like a girl I was talking to at the time, but then she
Drama.
messed me about, and then New was
This
like,
sounds
yeah,
great.
she does that. So New just like threw a mate under the bus, rightfully so. And
she wanted a bit
yeah,
Sean
and
Bell.
then, and then we sort
Yeah.
of became pals, and
wanted that
then
Bell.
at some point, snogging occurred.
What?
Wow,
Yes,
a
I know,
snog, an
I know.
actual snog.
Actual
Snogging.
snog.
Snogging's brilliant, isn't it?
In
Let's
the
face it.
in the Cafe Nero in Chester.
Oh, fucking hell.
Still some. It's
Snogging
still open.
Nero.
Somehow it's still open, and I walk past occasionally.
What,
like,
they
"Oh."
didn't shut it down after that snogging incident?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, they obviously
No,
like,
it's just fucking
clean the place.
disinfect,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
Get
yeah,
the
yeah.
fucking shake and vac out.
Yeah. Health and safety,
Stop.
shut this place down now.
Snogging's one of the best things, isn't it? I remember the first time you
Great.
had a snog, it was like, oh my god,
is up
this
there,
is
yeah.
fucking mind blowing.
Yeah. Literally
some-
cannot believe this is happening, and I don't understand what else you could possibly want from a physical interaction with another person. This is it. Surely.
Yeah.
Turns
do you
out
remember,
there are
like,
plenty
you know,
of other things.
At school, it was like, oh yeah, Frenchie. Like, oh, did you do a Frenchie?
Oh, did you use tongues? Yeah.
Yeah, a Frenchie.
Never had a Frenchie. Was never described as a
Sorry.
Frenchie.
What,
sorry,
like a French kiss? Wasn't that?
I know people
What?
don't like it when we do this.
Frenchie.
Chod in the chat just said, "Is there a blue plaque?" On the Cafe Nero? No, sadly, I'd put one up myself.
No, Sean, like, let's build a blue plaque and put it
Yeah.
on the wall. And if anyone
Yeah.
asks, say, well,
Yeah.
come on, mate.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
wonder who
happening, this.
governs the blue plaques. I assume there's someone you have to like apply
There is an
to.
organisation,
Yeah.
that does the whole thing.
Obama, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Obama.
Yep.
I think you just go at night and do it anyway.
That's true. No one will notice. Be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, just put it up. Did you see that guy that took photos of his friends eating burgers and got them printed out and put up in McDonald's, and they stayed up there for over a month?
No, but that sounds great.
Even his mates just took photos of him as his mates eating like Big Macs or whatever, and then they got them printed out and then put them up in McDonald's, and no one took them down because they just assumed they were part of the decor.
That's amazing.
I've just
really
realised
good.
I haven't actually read out Tim Tam's question.
Yeah, I know, but with the fucking attitude at the start of it,
That's true.
hearing the 40-year-olds, yeah, we're old.
Yeah,
Listen,
deal with it.
if you wait, mate, because when we're heading towards our 50s and we're doing this shit, we ain't gonna understand anything. You're gonna be fucking finding it even more hilarious.
Tim awful.
Tam, the question man asks.
Listen, Tim Tam, I might not understand Smash or Pass, but I do sort of understand mortgages and prostate issues. So, you know, who's winning, really?
Yeah. Stick that up your ass, Tim Tam.
Exactly.
Well, you would if you understood prostate issues. Go
That
on.
was a gag.
So what his actual question was...
It needed explaining, Matt.
No, there's a level of intellect behind the comedy, and I think
Well, there's
you
not,
have to
because
explain
the
it.
amount of messages we get saying no one understood Matt's because it was out of nowhere.
Oh, last week's one was my the half-fi
You
one.
plugged
That was-
it. You plugged it. Oh,
Plugged
listen to
it.
the podcast today, and it's got a half-fi joke in it. I was like, oh my god!
I
are we
messaged you.
doing
You
that
didn't even
now?
respond. I was like, did you catch the 2005 indie reference? No
I
response.
actually didn't. What was it?
It was something about. Well, you mentioned hard. It's just not. It's,
Yeah, we were
it's
talking
not my
about
thing.
Hi-Fi Rush, and I called
Yes.
it Hard Fi. I was like, right,
And I said it's
you
hard to
said-
beat,
right, okay.
which is a track of theirs.
This is
It's
the
very.
problem.
As
This is
you
the
can
problem.
see.
Those people that email in saying, "Hey, man, well, you don't get Matt's humour." We do. It's just not great. Go on.
so quick, so quick.
Oh, God.
So yeah, his actual question was, would you rather have as many games that you personally think are bad games, or only be able to play a game you love? What? Only have to play a game you love for the rest of your life? Oh,
So basically you have-
like
you have
unlimited
fuckloads
bad
of shit
games.
games.
Yeah, or just
Yeah, or one good one.
Good one.
One good one. Next. That's the easiest one of those questions I've ever answered.
Yeah, because how does
I
it?
don't know.
Because what if you playing one
Joe
of the?
Pasquale just ended the chat.
It depends on the level of shit, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah,
how, you know,
because what happens if you play one of the supposedly bad games and you actually start to like it? Does that then get pulled out of the mix?
Well, yeah. The question is, do you personally think are bad games? So it's like it's not even hey everyone thinks this game is shit. It's like you personally think it's bad. Would you rather have a life of loads of them? Because I think you might personally think that's bad at the beginning, but if you have a lifetime of them, then 20 years down the line, you're actually these
But
the
then
only
would
games
you
I
just
know and
play-
love
you
now.
wouldn't play games.
Yeah, I was going to say, you
wouldn't
just
play
stop playing
games.
them. Yeah. You just go, well, the games aren't for me anymore. I don't like any of them.
Because they're all
play-
bad.
Or play Rocket League for the rest of my life. I
Mm-hmm.
could happily play if every game ever just disappeared. Rocket League was there for the rest of my life. I play that every night. Every night. Love it. Love
Yeah, I
it.
mean,
No
I guess
pressure
that's
in
true.
thinking I should be playing something else.
Yeah, there
Be
is
playing
that.
the best game ever.
The pod would be
Best
great,
game
wouldn't
ever.
it?
Yeah, it'd be really good.
We wouldn't do a pod, Matt. Have you not worked this bit out? The pod wouldn't exist if there was one game.
Well, let's hope Tim Tam, the question man's reality doesn't come real.
God, imagine if we did carry on doing the pod and like 2 or 3 of us were just like every week what you've been playing, we're just like, well, famously you'll recall that I made a decision 2 years ago to never play anything that I like ever again. So
It's a Rocket League.
he also Tim Tam also says, have you seen that YouTuber Markiplier is making a movie of the indie horror game Iron Long?
Haven't.
don't know what any of those things mean.
A YouTuber, James, is someone.
We're actually doing it right now.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. Marketing executive Joe. This is the last question. He says, Dearest TCGS, thanks to a confusing series of whimsical events, you've been tasked with bringing back shit 90s era platformer Hugo the Troll for a dark and gritty, possibly ironic reboot. How do you sex up the horrible creature for today's discerning youth? Have your ideas on my desk by Friday.
Well, I don't know what Hugo the Troll is.
Don't even. Is this an Amiga game? It sounds
no,
like an
Oh,
Amiga
I
game.
think I
Yes,
do
you will
recognise
absolutely
Hugo
recognise
the
this.
Troll.
Yeah. Wasn't he the
I
one that
do.
was on the TV?
Yeah, was
ones
it?
as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
like
do-
live and kicking
well-
and shit, where you'd control the game with your
yeah.
phone.
When
Yes.
they were all like press
Going
4,
live
press
or whatever it
4,
was.
and it was
Yeah,
all
yeah.
like it went wrong. It never worked. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
properly.
because
It
they'd
was-
always be like, because they'd send you the little keypad if you still had one of the ring.
But no, but
Yeah,
that was the
on
best
the
bit when
phone.
people used to call in and they go, "Have you got a touch tone phone?" And they
Yeah.
go, "Yes," and it's like you haven't got a touch tone
No.
phone. You can't play. It's
Or people would
Have you
hold the
seen-
buttons and be going, you need to hold it and then let go, hold it and then let go, hold it and then let go.
Yeah, I used
So
to
the-
love that.
It's bad.
You've got Hugo, the logo, like that. It's the same Hugo logo for the Hugo.
Yeah.
If we were bringing it back, I mean, you just add one more line across that H, and it's a hashtag. So that'd be the first thing I do. Drop the H.
Okay.
So it's hashtag Hugo.
Ugo.
So it's
Yeah.
hashtag
Yeah.
Hugo. Yeah.
Hashtag Hugo.
Mhm.
I don't know. Probably put him. It's got to be about. I don't know. I don't know. It's got.
You got to jump over the
something, innit?
trending topics of today.
Yeah. Why can't it just be a fun game? Why has it got to relate to? Oh, this is all about, fatherhood. No.
Do you think he'd get some Invisalign on that tooth sticking out?
100%,
He'd
yeah.
sort that out. He'd be like,
Yeah, we will yassify
Yes.
Hugo.
Yeah, but there'd be a whole like fucking DLC thing about how he's only got one tooth. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Now we got
yeah.
Can we put
I
some
don't know
shoes
what
on
I'd
him
do with
because
this
those
character.
feet are grotesque.
Sorry, James. What?
So, no, I want to hear James's
Sorry,
thoughts.
James.
What's
Can I
that?
just say that? You say exactly that again.
I don't know what I do with this character. It's such a shit
Brilliant.
design, isn't it?
Thanks for. It is
at
a
it.
terrible design. It is bad.
Yeah.
And look at the size of the ears.
Have a go at the ears.
Why has it got two
Probably quite
horns?
useful in combat. Those ears.
Yep.
Why
Or
has it
if
got
he
two
falls off a
hunting?
cliff, he can
Do you know
float
what I'd
down.
do?
Yeah.
I'd give him massive hands.
Go on,
That's
why?
what I'd do.
To what end?
Like Alex Kidd. He'd have like, but instead of one
Oh yeah,
massive
yeah.
hand,
Gen Z love Alex Kidd.
You fat-handed twat.
he'd have no. I'd give him massive hands, and then he could like clap at things.
I don't understand. If you'd said, "Oh, give him massive hands so that he's like Dave Grohl in the Everlong video," I'd be like, "Yeah, all right, good."
I love the fact that James wants to modernise a character by making him like something from 1986.
There's
James,
already
I
been
was
such a
2 years old when that
1986.
game came out, mate. 2 years old when that game came out.
This already looks like a character from 1986.
Speaking of
I-
massive hands, when I think of massive hands in video games, my mind instantly goes to Doink the Clown in that WWE game. Do you remember that? Remember that one, the arcade one with Doink the Clown, and he's got the massive hands. Oh,
Don't remember that.
I tell you what, our listeners are going to crucify you for not knowing that one. Doink the Clown was in it. He had massive hands.
So, well, which wrestling game
it up.
specifically?
I can't remember. They were all the
Oh,
same
you're
for
going to
me.
get done now by listeners for that.
Hugo's got a wife, Hugalina.
Oh yeah.
I think you find it's called hashtag Ugalina.
Silly me.
Yeah, I don't like this question. I don't like this character.
I
appears-
think we
she
should
appears-
probably buy the IP.
She
Okay.
appears in many Hugo games and other media, often when she is kidnapped. Brackets usually along with the kids.
Oh God, dark, isn't it?
It's a bit-
I really, I don't know if it's possible, but I'd love to find some Hugo the Troll going live or live and kicking footage. It's probably somewhere on YouTube.
Could
I need
we-
to find that.
Just give him some guns.
Yep.
And
Make
the,
it an FPS.
yeah, the rest will work. It's a third. I reckon
No,
third
because
person.
that's not modern, is it? It's
That's
Hugo
true,
the Hugo the Battle Royale. Hugo
No,
the fucking
no,
live
it's gonna be live
cunt.
service. Yeah, live service.
Hugo
If we
the
make him
extraction
like John
shooter.
Wick.
That's the new hotness.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh, no,
James.
no, it has to be Hugo the Troll.
Right, yeah.
Just to bring it in line with Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
There's
And
a
yeah,
YouTube
it's-
video called Evolution of Hugo games. I mean, I didn't even know they existed
I
until
was gonna
today.
say, I didn't know they'd
Wow.
evolved.
Okay.
I don't know if it's, yeah, I mean, if anyone of, certainly my age would I absolutely remember it just because, live and kicking all over Saturday morning, touch tone platforming is, I used to always think I could do it, and I never got a chance to prove myself, which is a shame.
Is that 'cause
Oh
you
my
didn't have
God.
a touch tone phone, Matt?
And we couldn't afford one in Bognor, no.
So in 2012, the current or then Hugo owner stated in October 2012 that Hugo Games, quote, is happy that the traditional Hugo countries where Hugo is aired in the 90s still love Hugo and seemingly can't get enough of him. Angry Birds have shown us the way here, so now we are hard at work on, among other things, a film project, exciting licensing deals for toys, and finally we hope to release another Hugo game in time for summer 2013. I don't know if that ever actually happened.
What year was that? 2012?
Yeah.
Well, you could see why. So, taking over the world.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
You go to the polls. Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all the questions.
Let's go on socials then.
Socials.
Dave, yeah. Okay. No stream on Thursday, Sean, I assume.
Correct.
Listed here.
I'm out having a life for a little bit. Next week, though, promise I'll be back.
So no stream Thursday, but Friday is the eagerly awaited return of James Farley on Twitch, and you're streaming Hitman.
I am, but now I'm thinking about playing Hugo Up and Away. It came out in 2022.
James,
Okay,
how many times are you going
to
stream a shit game and then complain you're playing a shit game?
Please do it. Please do it. Please do it.
What's it out on Hugo Up and Away?
Okay, well, there may be a Hugo stream. Either way, there will be a stream with James Farley on Friday night at 9 p.m. UK time. If you've got Twitch or a Twitch Prime Gaming account or an Amazon account, connect them all. Give us a free sub. We really appreciate it. The Patreon is patreon.com/TCGS. We're in May now, so there'll be a May bonus show. There'll be hopefully for your consideration, but it's hard to say. And the website is tcgs.co for links to our amazing Discord community, our socials, streams, store, you name it.
And that's it for another week. Thank you for living it. We love you all. And we'll see you next week for some more video game chit chat. Goodbye, everyone.
Ta-ra.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Love you.